Every wolf finds their destiny on their 18th birthday. That's what the moon goddess promises every pup in the Silver Creek pack. But Arya Blackwood would learn that some destinies are worth more than others, and that the pack she called family would rather see her destroyed than allow her to claim hers. The whispers started the morning of her 18th birthday. Not the excited, celebratory kind that followed other wolves as they prepared for their first shift. No, these were the cruel, cutting whispers that had followed Arya Blackwood her entire life, now sharpened with fresh malice. Wolfless, broken, worthless. She'd heard them all before, but today, on the day every wolf was supposed to transform for the first time, those words carried a finality that made her chest ache. Arya stood before the cracked mirror in the servants' quarters, because that's where wolfless packmates belonged, apparently, and stared at her reflection. 18 years old today. Plain brown hair that refused to shine like other she-wolves. Gray eyes that her mother once called storm-colored before everything. A face that was neither beautiful nor memorable, just there. Happy birthday to me, she whispered to her reflection, touching the thin scar above her left eyebrow, a gift from her half-sister Lyanna's training accident 3 years ago. Outside, she could hear the celebration preparations for tonight's full moon ceremony. But not for her. Never for her. For Lyanna Blackwood, the golden daughter of the Silver Creek pack. The one whose wolf had emerged at 17 a year early, in a dazzling display of white fur and alpha power that had the entire pack bowing in reverence. The one who had everything Arya should have had. Don't think about it, Arya commanded herself, pulling her hair into a simple braid. Survive today. Just like every other day. But today felt different. Today, the weight of 18 years of rejection pressed down on her shoulders like stones, each one engraved with a memory she'd rather forget. Chapter 1. The Broken Daughter. The packhouse kitchen was already in chaos when Arya slipped through the servants' entrance. Omega wolves rushed back and forth, preparing the feast for Lyanna's celebration because, of course, her half-sister's ceremony couldn't just be a normal full moon gathering. It had to be a spectacle. Arya, finally. Omega Teresa spotted her immediately, thrust a tray of crystal glasses into her hands. These need to be polished and set in the grand hall. And make sure you stay in the shadows. Lady Blackwood's orders. She doesn't want you casting a pall on Lyanna's special night. Arya's fingers tightened on the tray. Lady Blackwood. Not your stepmother. Not even Luna Blackwood. Just Lady. Of course, Arya said quietly, taking the tray. Teresa's expression softened slightly. The older woman had known Arya's mother before she died when Arya was 7, before everything fell apart. I saved you a berry tart, hidden in the cold pantry, wrapped in cloth. For your birthday. The unexpected kindness made Arya's throat tight. Thank you. Don't thank me, child. Just keep your head down tonight. I've heard things. The council is putting pressure on your father about making decisions regarding pack members who can't shift. Arya's blood ran cold. What kind of decisions? But Teresa had already hurried away, called by another frantic Omega. Arya made her way through the familiar corridors of the pack house, the home where she'd been born, but where she'd never truly belonged. Not since her father, Alpha Gabriel Blackwood, had taken Lady Vivian as his second mate barely a year after Arya's mother's death. Vivian, who had brought her perfect daughter Lyanna into their lives. Vivian, who had slowly, methodically erased every trace of Arya's mother from the pack house. Vivian, who whispered poison into Alpha Gabriel's ear until he looked at his eldest daughter with disappointment instead of love. The grand hall was already decorated silver and white everywhere, like a winter wonderland. Arya moved silently along the walls, setting each glass precisely where the seating chart indicated. She'd learned long ago how to make herself invisible, how to move through spaces without drawing attention. Careful with those, mongrel. They're worth more than you are. Arya's shoulders tensed. She didn't need to turn around to know who spoke. Lyanna Blackwood stood in the doorway, radiant in a white dress that probably cost more than Arya's entire wardrobe. At 18, well, technically 17 until next month, Lyanna was everything Arya wasn't. Tall, graceful, with cascading golden hair and emerald eyes that sparkled with cruelty masquerading as confidence. Behind her stood her usual entourage, Kara and Melissa, both from high-ranking families, both blessed with their wolves and the social power that came with them. "I'm being careful," Arya replied evenly, not taking the bait. Never take the bait. Lyanna glided into the room like she owned it, which, technically, she would someday. As the daughter who could shift, who had alpha potential, Lyanna was already being groomed to lead. Never mind that Arya was the eldest. Never mind that their father's bloodline ran through her veins too. "Today's your birthday too, isn't it?" Lyanna's voice dripped with false sympathy. 18. The day you were supposed to find your wolf. She paused, tapping a manicured nail against her lips. "Oh, wait. You don't have one, do you?" "How unfortunate. Lyanna, I have work to do." "Of course you do. That's all wolfless things are good for, isn't it? Serving their betters." Lyanna circled Arya like a predator playing with prey. "Mother says father is finally going to do something about you. About the embarrassment you bring to the Blackwood name." Arya's hands trembled slightly, but she kept her voice steady. "I haven't done anything wrong. You exist. That's wrong enough." Lyanna leaned in close, her breath hot against Arya's ear. "A wolfless daughter of an alpha. It's unnatural. It makes the pack look weak. Makes father look weak. So tonight, after my ceremony, when I stand before the pack as the acknowledged heir." She pulled back, smiling sweetly. "Well, let's just say changes are coming." Kara and Melissa giggled behind her, the sound like breaking glass. Arya forced herself to meet Lyanna's eyes. "I'm still your sister." "Half-sister," Lyanna corrected coldly. "And barely that. You're a mistake, Arya. A defect. And mistakes get corrected." They swept out of the room, leaving Arya standing alone among the crystal and silver, her reflection fractured in a dozen polished glasses. Her hands shook as she set down the tray. Don't cry. Don't give them that satisfaction. But the tears came anyway, hot and angry, as she stood in the grand hall that should have been celebrating her too. As she thought about the father who barely looked at her anymore. As she realized that tonight might be more than just another humiliation. Tonight might be the end of everything. A soft cough from the doorway made her swipe frantically at her tears. Crying won't help. Arya turned to find Grandmother Esther standing in the shadows, her father's mother, the former Luna, the only person in the pack house who still treated her like family. "Grandmother, I didn't hear you." The old woman moved slowly, her wolf long since faded with age, but her eyes still sharp as flint. "That's because you were too busy feeling sorry for yourself." The harsh words would have stung from anyone else, but from Grandmother Esther, they were oddly comforting. At least she was honest. Lyanna said father is planning something. About me. "Gabriel is a fool being led around by that viper he married," Esther said bluntly. "But he's still my son, and he's still your father. The pack bond can't be broken so easily, but I have no wolf, Grandmother. How can I have a pack bond without pointness?" "Hush!" Esther gripped Arya's chin, forcing her to meet those piercing eyes. "Your mother was the strongest Luna this pack ever had. Do you know why?" Arya shook her head, hardly daring to breathe. Her grandmother rarely spoke of her mother, because she understood that strength comes in many forms. She didn't manifest her wolf until she was 19 late by any standard. Everyone whispered about her too, called her weak, broken. Esther's grip tightened. And then, when her wolf finally emerged, it was like nothing anyone had ever seen. A silver wolf, rare as starlight, powerful as the moon itself. "But I'm 18. It should have happened already." "Should, could, would," Esther released her, waving a dismissive hand. "The moon goddess doesn't work on our schedule, child. She works on her own. What if she's forgotten me? What if there is no wolf? Then you find another way to survive," Esther said simply. "Now, stop sniveling and finish your work. And tonight, at the ceremony, you will stand with your head high. You are a Blackwood, whether they acknowledge it or not. Act like it." The old woman left as quietly as she'd come, leaving Arya alone with trembling hope warring with crushing despair. What if she's right? What if my wolf is just late? But even as she thought it, doubt crept in. 18 years. 18 years of being different, of being wrong, of being broken. Why would today be any different? Outside, the sun began its descent toward the horizon. Soon, the full moon would rise, and Arya Blackwood would learn exactly how cruel destiny could be. If stories like Arya's remind you that worth can't be destroyed by cruelty, subscribe to join others who believe hidden strength deserves recognition. Chapter 2. The Ceremony of Shame. The full moon rose like a silver eye over the sacred clearing, bathing everything in ethereal light. Arya stood at the very back of the gathered pack, as far from the central stone circle as possible without actually leaving the ceremony grounds. Her position wasn't chosen, it was assigned. Wolfless pack members belonged at the edges, always at the edges, where their deficiency wouldn't contaminate the sacred ritual. Around her, the Silver Creek pack had assembled in their finest over 300 wolves, all dressed in ceremonial whites and silvers. The air thrummed with anticipation and power, as shifted and unshifted wolves alike gathered to witness Lyanna's official recognition as alpha heir. Arya wore a simple gray dress, not white, never white. White was for wolves who belonged. Gray was for those who existed in the spaces between. All rise for Alpha Gabriel Blackwood and Luna Vivian Blackwood. The pack's collective attention snapped to the northern entrance where Arya's father emerged, and her heart clenched painfully at the sight of him. Alpha Gabriel Blackwood was still impressive at 45 tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. He wore the Alpha's ceremonial robes, and power radiated from him in waves that made lesser wolves drop their eyes in automatic submission. He'd once looked at Arya with love. She remembered it, those distant memories from before her mother died. He'd called her Little Storm because of her gray eyes. He'd carried her on his shoulders and told her she'd be strong like her mother. Now, he barely remembered she existed. Lady Vivian walked beside him, resplendent in Luna white, her auburn hair crowned with silver. She was beautiful in the way poisonous flowers were beautiful, lovely to look at, deadly to touch. Her hand rested possessively on Gabriel's arm, and when her gaze swept the crowd, it skipped over Arya entirely, as if she were just another shadow. Behind them came Lyanna, and the pack's reaction was immediate and visceral. By the goddess, she's magnificent. The prophecy wolf. Lyanna had already shifted into her wolf form, something rarely done before the actual ceremony, but rules apparently didn't apply to the Golden Daughter. Her white wolf was enormous, nearly the size of an alpha male's, with fur that seemed to glow under the moonlight. Her eyes were a brilliant, unnatural gold, and power rolled off her in waves that made even senior warriors bow their heads in respect. Arya felt sick. This wasn't just a ceremony anymore. This was a coronation. Pack! Alpha Gabriel's voice boomed across the clearing, enhanced by his alpha command. Everyone fell silent instantly. Tonight, under the witness of the full moon and the blessing of the moon goddess, we gather for a sacred purpose. The ritual words, spoken at every ceremony, but tonight they felt weighted with additional meaning. We celebrate the emergence of alpha potential in the next generation. We celebrate the strength of the Silver Creek pack. We celebrate, his voice swelled with pride that carved wounds in Arya's heart, my daughter, Lyanna Blackwood, whose wolf manifested early and powerful, marking her as chosen by the goddess herself. The pack erupted in howls of approval, both human voices and wolf throats joining in a symphony of celebration. Arya's throat remained silent, her hands clenched at her sides. Lyanna shifted back to human form in a fluid motion that spoke of perfect control. Accepting a white ceremonial robe from her mother, she looked radiant, triumphant, and when her eyes found Arya's across the distance, the smirk on her face was unmistakable. This is your night, Arya thought bitterly. Enjoy it. But tonight, Alpha Gabriel continued, and something in his tone made Arya's instincts scream danger. We must also address a matter that has plagued this pack for too long. A weakness that threatens our standing among the northern packs. No, 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 no. Arya's heart began to pound as her father's eyes finally landed on her. Arya Blackwood, step forward. The words were command, not request. Arya's body obeyed before her mind could process the horror of what was happening. Her legs carried her through the parting crowd, wolves stepping back, as if her wolflessness might be contagious, until she stood alone in the center of the stone circle, under the full moon, under the judgment of her pack, under her father's cold, disappointed gaze. 18 years ago, Gabriel said, his voice carrying to every corner of the clearing, the moon goddess blessed me with a daughter from my true mate, Luna Seraphina. We believed she would be strong like her mother. We believed she would bring honor to the Blackwood name. Arya's nails bit into her palms. Don't cry. Don't you dare cry. But the years passed, and no wolf emerged. Not at 13, not at 16. And tonight, on her 18th birthday, still, nothing. He said the last word with such contempt that Arya physically flinched. The council has brought concerns to my attention, concerns about what it means for an alpha's bloodline to produce a wolfless heir, concerns about the message it sends to our enemies. Kameen, father, Arya's voice came out as a broken whisper. Silence. The alpha command crashed over her like a physical blow, forcing her to her knees on the cold stone. You have no right to speak in this circle. Not without a wolf, not without worth. Grandmother Esther's voice cut through the crowd. Gabriel, this is madness. She is your daughter. She is a defect. Vivian's voice rang out, sweet as honey and sharp as knives. My love, we've discussed this. The pack's strength must come first. We cannot afford weakness in the alpha bloodline, not with the territorial challenges we're facing from the Blood Moon pack. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Arya heard them, each voice a nail in her coffin. She's right. Can't have weakness. Embarrassment to the pack. Lyanna stepped forward, her voice soft but carrying perfectly in the ceremonial acoustics of the clearing. Father, I know this is difficult. Arya is, well, she's family. But perhaps there's a solution that's merciful to her while protecting the pack? Merciful. The word dripped with false compassion. Gabriel nodded slowly. What do you propose? The Wolfless can serve the pack in other ways. Arya could be officially designated as Omega. It would give her a role, a purpose, without the pretense of her being part of the Alpha family bloodline. Lyanna's smile was gentle, understanding, and utterly cruel. She could find happiness in service. Isn't that better than the constant reminder of what she lacks? Omega, the lowest rank in the pack, servants, the wolves, or in Arya's case, non-wolves who existed to support others, no rights in pack decisions, no voice in pack matters, no future beyond servitude. No. The word escaped Arya's lips before she could stop it. Please, I'm your daughter. You're nothing. Vivian's mask slipped, revealing the venom beneath. You're a reminder of a dead woman who thought she was too good for this pack. Your mother was weak, and she passed that weakness to you. At least she had the decency to die before she could embarrass Gabriel further. Enough. Grandmother Esther's voice cracked like a whip, the old Luna's authority still formidable despite her age. She pushed through the crowd, moving to stand beside Arya. Vivian, you go too far. Seraphina was 10 times the Luna you'll ever be, and this child is 18 and wolfless, Vivian shouted back. She has no place in the Alpha family. Gabriel, you know I'm right. The council agrees. The pack agrees. It's time to cut out the rot before it spreads. Alpha Gabriel looked between his mother, his wife, and the daughter kneeling on the stones. For one brief, shining moment, Arya thought she saw something in his eyes, recognition, maybe even regret. Then it was gone, replaced by the hard mask of an alpha making difficult decisions. The council has advised, he said slowly, that Arya Blackwood be stripped of her family name and reduced to Omega rank, effective immediately. The world tilted. Arya couldn't breathe, couldn't think, However, Gabriel continued, and now his voice held something almost like pain. She is still my blood. So I offer an alternative. Hope, desperate and foolish, flickered in Arya's chest. You have 1 week, Gabriel said, looking directly at her for the first time in years. 1 week to manifest your wolf. If, by the next full moon, you shift, you may remain in the family. You may keep your name. But if you cannot, he paused, then you will accept Omega status without protest, and you will never again claim connection to the Blackwood bloodline. 1 week. 7 days. As if a wolf could be summoned on command, as if 18 years of absence could be overturned by sheer will. It was impossible. It was cruel. It was the only chance she had. I accept, Arya whispered. What? Lyanna's composure cracked for the first time, her voice sharp with disbelief. Father, you can't seriously. I've made my decision, Gabriel said with finality. Then, to Arya, 7 days. Prove your worth. Or accept your fate. He turned away from her, and the dismissal was absolute. The ceremony continued as if Arya didn't exist. Lyanna was officially recognized as heir, the pack howled their approval, and celebrations began. But Arya remained kneeling on the cold stone, trembling with humiliation and desperate, impossible hope. 7 days. Grandmother Esther helped her to her feet, gripping her arm with surprising strength. Come with me. Now. They slipped away from the celebration, moving through the forest paths Arya had known her whole life. The sounds of the pack's joy faded behind them, replaced by the whisper of wind through trees and the thunder of Arya's own heartbeat. Grandmother, what do I do? Arya's voice finally broke, tears streaming down her face. I can't make a wolf appear. If I could have, I would have done it years ago. Esther didn't slow her pace, pulling Arya deeper into the woods. Your mother made me promise something before she died. Made me swear I would never speak of it unless you absolutely needed to know. What? What promise? They reached a small clearing Arya had never seen before, and she'd explored these woods her entire life. In the center stood an ancient stone marker, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and writhe in the moonlight. Your mother's wolf didn't just manifest late, Esther said quietly. It was dormant because she was something the pack hadn't seen in 3 generations. Something powerful, something dangerous. Arya's breath caught. What was she? A moon singer. Esther turned to face her, and in the old woman's eyes, Arya saw fear and hope warring. Wolves who can commune directly with the moon goddess, who can call on her power, who can in the rarest cases transform not just themselves, but reality itself. That's just a legend. Is it? Esther grabbed Arya's shoulders. Your mother could make plants grow with a song, could heal wounds with a touch, could sense lies like they were screaming in her ears, and when she finally shifted, the old woman's voice dropped to a whisper. Her wolf was silver as moonlight, and when she howled, every wolf in 100 miles felt it in their bones. Arya shook her head, overwhelmed. But I'm nothing like that. I can't do any of those things. Because you've been suppressed. Esther's grip tightened. Vivian isn't just cruel, child. She's a witch. Not a werewolf at all. She's been using dark magic to pass herself off as one of us. And she's been poisoning you since you were 7 years old. The world seemed to tilt. What? Small doses. Nothing fatal, she's too clever for that. But enough to keep your wolf dormant, to make you weak, to ensure you'd never challenge Lyanna's place. Esther's eyes blazed with ancient fury. I've suspected for years, but I could never prove it, and by the time I was certain, the damage was done. Arya's mind raced, memories clicking into place. The special teas Vivian always insisted she drink. The foods prepared, just for her. The way she'd felt increasingly tired, increasingly disconnected, as the years passed. Why didn't you tell father? I tried. Esther's voice cracked. But she has him under her spell, literally. Gabriel isn't himself anymore. The man I raised would never treat his daughter this way. Never. Hope and horror tangled in Arya's chest. If she's been poisoning me, if my wolf has been suppressed, does that mean? It means you have 7 days to undo 18 years of poison, Esther said grimly. It means we have to find a way to break her spell, and it means, she gestured to the stone marker, we have to do something very dangerous. Arya looked at the ancient stone, at the symbols that hurt to look at directly. What is this place? A moon shrine. A place where the barrier between our world and the moon goddess's realm is thin. Your mother used to come here to pray, to sing, to connect with her wolf. Esther pulled a small vial from her pocket, liquid that glowed faintly silver. This is moon water, blessed under a lunar eclipse. It can purge poison, break minor spells. But it's dangerous for someone who's been suppressed as long as you have. Dangerous how? It could kill you, Esther said bluntly. If your wolf isn't truly dormant, if there's nothing there to awaken the moon, water will destroy you from the inside out. You'll die in agony as it burns through your body looking for something that doesn't exist. Arya stared at the vial. 7 days. 7 days to prove her worth or lose everything. 7 days. Or death right now. No, not death. A chance. Give it to me, Arya said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. Arya, what choice do I have? She laughed bitterly. Live as an Omega, stripped of my name, serving the woman who murdered my mother and has been slowly killing me. Or take a chance that maybe, just maybe, my mother's blood means something? Esther studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Your mother would be proud. Foolish, but proud. She pressed the vial into Arya's palm. Drink it all, then place your hands on the moon shrine stone, and open your heart to the goddess. If she deems you worthy, if your wolf is real. She trailed off. And if I'm not worthy? Then may the goddess receive your spirit with more kindness than this pack has shown you. Arya uncorked the vial. The liquid inside smelled like moonlight and winter, and something ancient beyond words. Her hand trembled. This is insane. This is suicide. But what was the alternative? Slow death of the spirit as an Omega? Exile from the only home she'd ever known? At least this way. I choose. Arya raised the vial to her lips and drank. The moon water hit her tongue like liquid fire and ice simultaneously. She gasped, nearly dropping the vial, but forced herself to swallow, to drain every drop. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the pain began. It started in her stomach, and radiated outward like shattered glass through her veins. Arya fell to her knees, screaming, as 18 years of poison fought against the purging power of the moon water. Her vision went white, then black, then filled with colors that shouldn't exist. The stone! Esther's voice came from very far away. Touch the stone, Arya. Now. Arya's hands scrabbled across the ground. Found the ancient marker, pressed against symbols that burned like brands against her palms, and the world exploded. Light. Silver. Blinding. Infinite light poured through her like she'd become a conduit for the moon itself. Arya felt something inside her, something that had been compressed, suffocated, chained for 18 years suddenly unfurl. Wake up. The voice wasn't external, wasn't internal. It was fundamental, woven into the fabric of existence itself. Wake up, daughter of the moon. Arya's back arched as power flooded through her. She felt her bones shift, her muscles reshape, her very essence transform. But it was wrong too much, too fast, too powerful. The moonwater had purged the poison, yes, but in doing so, it had shattered every barrier her body had built to protect itself. She was shifting, but not into a wolf, into something else. Something that made the forest around her bow as if in worship. Something that caused the ancient stone beneath her palms to crack with power it hadn't held in generations. Something that, in that moment, transcended the very concept of wolf entirely. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. Arya collapsed into darkness, her last conscious thought a single question. What am I? Chapter 3. The Silver Awakening. Arya woke to birdsong, and the scent of flowers that shouldn't exist in autumn. Her eyes fluttered open, and the world looked different, sharper, more alive. She could see individual dewdrops on leaves 50 feet away, could count the veins in every petal of the wildflowers that had suddenly bloomed around her body. What happened? She tried to sit up and immediately realized something was very, very wrong. Her body felt foreign, powerful, like she'd spent her entire life walking through water and had suddenly stepped onto dry land. Energy thrummed through her veins, electric and wild, begging to be released. Grandmother. Her voice came out strange, layered, as if multiple tones were speaking in harmony. Here, child. Esther's voice was hoarse, exhausted. Thank the goddess, you're alive. I wasn't sure you would be. Arya managed to push herself upright and found her grandmother sitting against a tree, looking like she'd aged a decade overnight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. and her hands trembled. What happened? The last thing I remember was the moon shrine, the pain, the voice. Did I shift? Esther's laugh was shaky, almost hysterical. Did you shift? Child, you nearly tore a hole between realms. I've been using every ounce of power I have left to contain the energy you released, so the entire pack wouldn't sense it. Arya looked around the clearing properly for the first time. The ancient stone marker had split clean down the middle, glowing symbols still pulsing with fading light. The grass in a perfect circle around her had turned silver, not gray, not white, but true metallic silver that shimmered in the dawn light. And the flowers, are those moon lilies? Arya breathed. The legendary flowers that supposedly only bloomed in the presence of the moon goddess herself. You called them forth, Esther said quietly, along with enough power to level this entire forest. Arya, your mother was powerful, but what you did last night. She shook her head. I've never seen anything like it, never even heard stories of anything like it, but I don't understand. Did my wolf emerge? Try to shift, Esther interrupted. Slowly, carefully. And for the love of the goddess, try not to destroy anything else. Arya closed her eyes, reaching for the place inside herself where she'd always felt an emptiness, a void where her wolf should be. But now, instead of emptiness, she found, oh, it wasn't a wolf she found waiting inside her consciousness. It was a universe, power beyond measure, ancient and wild and terrifyingly vast. And at the center of it all, a presence that regarded her with eyes like silver suns. Hello, little sister. A voice purred in her mind, feminine, powerful, amused. Took you long enough to wake me up. There's something inside me, Arya whispered, her eyes snapping open. But it's not like the wolves I've sensed from others. It's… Show me, Esther commanded. Shift. Now. Arya took a deep breath and reached for that vast presence inside her. The moment she touched it, power exploded through her body. The transformation was nothing like the smooth, practiced shifts she'd seen other wolves perform. This was catastrophic, reality-bending, as if her body was rejecting the very concept of staying in one form. Light poured from her skin. Her bones restructured themselves with sounds like breaking crystal. And when the transformation completed, Esther gasped. Actually stumbling backward, Arya looked down at herself and understood her grandmother's reaction. She was a wolf. Technically, but calling her a wolf was like calling the ocean a puddle. Her fur was pure silver, not white like Lyanna's, not gray, but metallic silver that seemed to generate its own light. She was massive, easily twice the size of a normal alpha wolf, with 4-inch fangs and claws that dug furrows in the earth with the slightest movement. Her eyes, she could see her reflection in a pool of water, were molten silver, swirling with power that looked almost liquid. But the most striking feature was the marking on her chest, a crescent moon in darker silver, surrounded by stars that actually twinkled, as if she carried the night sky on her fur. Well? The voice in her head asked. Impressed? What are you? Arya thought back, too shocked for proper words. We are Luna Wolf, the presence replied, as if that explained everything. The moon goddess's own blood, born once in 1,000 years. We are the bridge between divine and mortal. We are the pack of one that commands all others. We are in very big trouble if anyone sees us, Esther said sharply, snapping Arya back to reality. Child, you need to shift back. Now. And we need to figure out how to hide what you are. Hide? Arya thought about the power thrumming through her, about 18 years of being called worthless, about last night's humiliation. Why should I hide? Let them see. Let Father see that I'm not broken. That they will kill you. Esther's shout made Arya's wolf instincts freeze. The old woman's face was white with terror. Do you understand what you are? Luna wolves don't belong to packs. They don't bow to alphas. They are the alpha of alphas. If Gabriel realizes what you've become, if Vivian realizes, she shuddered, they'll either try to control you or destroy you. There is no third option. The truth of her words sank like stones in Arya's stomach. Her father, already disappointed and distant, learning his defective daughter had manifested power that dwarfed his own? Vivian, who'd spent 18 years poisoning her to keep her weak, discovering she'd failed? They'll see me as a threat, Arya realized with cold clarity. Not a daughter, a threat. She reached for that vast power inside her and pulled it back, compressing it, hiding it. The transformation reversed, and she was human again, naked, exhausted, and more confused than ever. Esther wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, produced from somewhere. The pack doesn't know you, drank moon water. They don't know you came here. As far as anyone is concerned, you spent the night in your quarters, devastated by the ceremony. She gripped Arya's shoulders. You have 7 days to manifest your wolf. So that's what we're going to give them, a believable wolf. Not a Luna wolf. Just a strong wolf. Something that proves you belong, but nothing that threatens Lyanna's position or raises questions about how you suddenly got so powerful. But how? Arya protested. I can barely control this thing inside me. I don't know how to. Then you'll learn, Esther said firmly. Because the alternative is death or slavery, and I didn't help you survive last night just to watch you throw your life away on pride. Arya wanted to argue, but the exhaustion suddenly crashed over her like a wave. Whatever she'd done last night had drained her completely. Come, Esther said more gently. Let's get you back to the pack house before anyone notices we're gone. And Arya? She paused. The power you feel, the voice inside you, never, ever, let anyone else know it exists. Luna wolves are legend for a reason. They're too powerful to be allowed to live freely. Promise me. Arya looked at the silver grass, the moon lilies, the shattered stone that hummed with residual power. She thought about the presence inside her consciousness, ancient and wild, and hers. I spent 18 years being nothing, she thought. Now I'm something terrifying. I promise, she whispered. But even as she said it, she wondered if it was a promise she could keep. 3 days later, the pack house training grounds. Again, Arya hit the dirt for the 5th time in as many minutes, her ribs screaming in protest. Above her, Lyanna stood in her white wolf form, teeth bared in what might have been a smile if wolves could smile. Come on, sister. Lyanna's voice echoed in the mental pack link, dripping with false encouragement. If you're going to manifest a wolf in 4 days, you should at least learn how a real wolf fights. The training had been Vivian's idea, announced at breakfast that morning with a smile sweet as poison. If Arya is to prove herself, she should understand what she's aspiring to. Lyanna, be a deer, and show her some basic combat forms. It was torture masquerading as help. And everyone knew it. Arya pushed herself up, every muscle protesting. For 3 days, she'd been hiding what she was, pretending to still be wolfless, while secretly learning to control the vast power inside her. Grandmother Esther had been teaching her in secret how to compress her wolf, how to make it appear normal, how to present something believable when the 7 days ended. But right now, taking another beating from Lyanna, it took everything she had not to let her real wolf out. Not to show Lyanna exactly what power felt like. Not yet. The Luna wolf purred in her mind. But soon we'll show them all. Pathetic. Lyanna shifted back to human form, not even breathing hard. Around them, pack members had gathered to watch some pitying, most enjoying the spectacle of the wolfless Blackwood being put in her place. How do you expect to survive a shift if you can't even handle a little sparring? Arya wiped blood from her split lip. Maybe if you weren't using your full alpha strength against someone who hasn't shifted yet. Oh. Are we playing fair now? Lyanna's eyes flashed dangerously. Was father being fair when he gave you 7 days you don't deserve? When he should have stripped you of the Blackwood name immediately? She leaned in close, voice dropping to a whisper only Arya could hear. I know what you did 3 nights ago. I felt the power surge from the forest. You did something, didn't you? Something desperate and stupid? Arya's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. Lyanna's smile was razor sharp. You reek of moon magic. Whatever you attempted, it failed. You're still wolfless, still weak. But you tried something, and Mother is very interested in finding out what. What? Before Arya could respond, A commotion at the training ground entrance made everyone turn. 3 strangers stood at the gate, and the word stranger didn't begin to capture their presence. They were clearly alphas, all 3 of them. Power rolled off them in waves that made the Silver Creek wolves instinctively bare their throats in submission. But they weren't from any nearby pack. The first was tall and dark, with eyes like midnight, and an aura that suggested violence barely contained. The second was leaner, with copper hair and a smile that promised danger. The third was pale as moonlight, with white blonde hair and eyes that saw too much. And all 3 of them were staring directly at Arya. Alpha Gabriel emerged from the pack house, his expression guarded. Alpha Cade, of the Shadow Fang pack. Alpha Thorn of the Crimson Claw pack. Alpha Zephyr of the Storm Wind pack. He nodded to each in turn. This is unexpected. We weren't notified of your arrival. The Dark One, Cade, spoke first, his voice like gravel and smoke. 3 nights ago, every Alpha, within 500 miles, felt something. A power surge unlike anything in living memory. His eyes never left Arya. It came from your territory. Thorn, the copper-haired one, tilted his head. At first, we thought perhaps you'd acquired an ancient artifact, or maybe the moon goddess herself had blessed your lands. His smile was all teeth. But now that we're here, I smell something far more interesting. Zephyr, the pale one, moved with liquid grace, circling the training ground until he stood between Arya and Lyanna. Fascinating, he murmured, leaning close enough to Arya that she could feel his breath on her neck. You're terrified, heart racing, but underneath that, he inhaled deeply. Underneath that, you smell like moonlight and power and secrets. Back away from my daughter, Gabriel growled, though Arya noticed he didn't specify which daughter. Which one? Cade asked, amused. Because I'm quite certain the power we felt came from. He pointed directly at Arya. Her. The clearing went dead silent. Arya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. They'd sensed her transformation. They knew. Deny it. Grandmother Esther's earlier coaching echoed in her mind. No matter what they suspect, deny everything. I'm Wolfless, Arya said, hating how her voice shook. There's no way. Are you? Zephyr's hand shot out, faster than thought, gripping her wrist. His eyes widened. Your pulse. It's not human, not quite wolf either. What are you? Let her go, Lyanna snapped, moving to intercede. She's nothing a defect. Whatever you felt came from me. I'm the one who manifested early. The one with alpha potential. Cade laughed, the sound dark and mocking. Oh, little white wolf. I can smell your power, and it's impressive, for a normal alpha. But what we felt 3 nights ago, he shook his head. That was something ancient. Something that made every alpha instinct I have scream both submission and challenge. That, he gestured at Lyanna, was not you. Thorn was studying Arya with unsettling intensity. The prophecy, he said softly. By the goddess, the old prophecy. A Luna wolf walks among us. Enough. Gabriel's alpha command crashed over the clearing, forcing lesser wolves to their knees. But the 3 visiting alphas barely flinched. I don't know what game you're playing, but Arya is wolfless. She has 4 days to prove otherwise or accept Omega status. Your prophecies and power surges have nothing to do with her. Then you won't mind, Cade said smoothly, if we stay to witness her transformation, or lack thereof? His smile was predatory. We've come a long way. The least you can offer is hospitality while we investigate the source of the power we felt. It wasn't a request. It was a declaration. Gabriel's jaw clenched, but he nodded stiffly. Of course. You honor us with your presence. Oh, we're not here for honor, Thorn said cheerfully. He looked at Arya again, and something in his gaze made her shiver. We're here because if a Luna wolf has awakened, everything is about to change. The question is, his eyes gleamed, who will she choose to stand beside? She's wolfless! Vivian's shrill voice cut through the tension as she appeared, moving to Gabriel's side. I don't care what power you felt. This girl is a disappointment, and in 4 days, she'll be an Omega. End of story. Zephyr released Arya's wrist but didn't step back. We'll see, he murmured. Something tells me this story is just beginning. The three alphas moved toward the pack house with Gabriel and Vivian, leaving Arya standing in the training ground, trembling with barely controlled terror. They know, she thought desperately. They know, and now everything is going to. Well. Lyanna's voice dripped with venom. Looks like your little secret isn't so secret after all. Mother is going to be very interested in this development. She leaned in close. Whatever you're hiding, sister, it's only a matter of time before everyone knows. And then? She smiled. Then we'll see what father does with you. She walked away, leaving Arya alone with the realization that her carefully maintained lie had just become infinitely more complicated. Because three alphas had come looking for power, and they'd found her. That night, Arya's quarters. Arya paced her small room like a caged animal, which wasn't far from the truth. Grandmother Esther sat in the corner, watching her with worried eyes. They know, Arya said for the 10th time. They know, grandmother. Those alphas, they sensed what I am. They suspect. Esther corrected. There's a difference. Yes, they felt your transformation, but they don't know for certain it was you. They're fishing, trying to force your hand. But why? Why would three alphas from different packs care about some prophecy? Because Luna wolves don't just have power, Esther interrupted. They have influence. A Luna wolf's allegiance can make or break entire pack alliances. If you choose an alpha as your mate, you would elevate his pack above all others. You would be, she paused, choosing words carefully, a prize worth any price. The words made Arya feel sick. So they see me as… what? A tool? A weapon? A opportunity, Esther said bluntly. And if they can figure out what you are before your father does, before Vivian does, they can make their moves. Court you, claim you, control you. I don't want to be controlled by anyone. Arya's voice rose. I spent 18 years being nothing. Now I'm finally something. And I'm supposed to just hand myself over to the first alpha who… A knock at the door froze them both. Arya moved to answer it, expecting another servant with some new humiliation from Vivian. Instead, she found Cade, the Shadow Fang Alpha, leaning against her doorframe with a smile that was all danger. Hello, little Luna, he said softly. I think it's time we had a private conversation. Chapter 4. The Alpha's Bargain. Cade's presence filled the small room like smoke, dark, suffocating, impossible to ignore. Grandmother Esther was on her feet instantly, positioning herself between Arya and the intruding alpha. You have no right to be here, Esther said sharply. These are private quarters, and I mean no disrespect, elder, Cade interrupted smoothly, though his eyes never left Arya. But what I have to say, the girl needs to hear, without the filters of pack politics or family loyalty. Anything you need to say can be said through proper channels. Can it? Cade's smile was sharp. Even if it concerns a witch who's been poisoning an alpha's daughter for over a decade? Even if it concerns prophecies that could reshape the balance of power among all northern packs? He finally looked at Esther, and his expression softened slightly. I know who you are, Esther Blackwood. Luna, before Vivian. Your reputation for wisdom is well earned. So, I ask you, as one who clearly loves this girl, to let me speak my piece. If she wants me gone afterward, I'll go. Esther studied him for a long moment, then looked at Arya. It's your choice, child. Every instinct Arya had screamed danger. But beneath that, curiosity burned. He knew about Vivian. He knew things. And maybe, just maybe, he had answers she desperately needed. 10 minutes, Arya said, forcing her voice to stay steady. You have 10 minutes. Cade's smile widened. That's all I need. He stepped fully into the room, and Arya noticed he moved with the careful precision of a predator in unfamiliar territory, ready for threats, but not creating them. Yet, he settled against the wall, arms crossed, studying her with those midnight eyes. 3 nights ago, I was in my territory, 200 miles from here. I woke from a dead sleep, because every alpha instinct I possess was screaming that something fundamental had changed in the world. The moon itself seemed to pulse with power. He tilted his head. Tell me, Arya Blackwood, Do you know what a Luna wolf is? Grandmother mentioned. Legends, Kate interrupted. Stories told to pups to make them behave. Be good, or the Luna wolf will steal you away. The moon goddess sends Luna wolves to judge unworthy alphas. His expression darkened. But like most legends, they're based on truth. Luna wolves are real. Or they were, once upon a time. Once upon a time? Arya echoed. The last confirmed Luna wolf lived 300 years ago, Cade said. Her name was Astrid Moonborn, and she could command any wolf, alpha or omega, with nothing but her will. She chose no pack, bowed to no authority, and eventually... He paused. Eventually, the alphas of that era decided something so powerful couldn't be allowed to exist unclaimed. They hunted her, killed her, and every pup she'd ever born. The casual horror in his words made Arya's stomach turn. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're facing. Cade pushed off the wall, taking a step closer. Esther tensed, but he ignored her, his attention fixed on Arya. If you are what I think you are, if that power surge was your awakening, then you're the first Luna wolf in 3 centuries, and the moment the greater packs realize it. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. They'll kill me, Arya whispered. Like they killed Astrid. Some will try, Cade agreed. Others will try to capture you, to use your power for their own ends, to force you into a mate bond that would give them access to your abilities. His eyes gleamed, and a precious few might actually see you as something more than a weapon or a threat. And which category do you fall into, Alpha Cade? He laughed, the sound dark and genuine. Honestly, I haven't decided yet. The smart play would be to kill you before you become a problem. The ambitious play would be to claim you as a mate and use your power to dominate the northern territories. He moved closer still, until Arya could feel the heat radiating from him. But there's a third option. One that interests me far more. What option? Alliance, Cade said simply. Not ownership, not control, partnership. He glanced at Esther. Your grandmother is right to hide what you are. If Gabriel realizes his wolfless daughter is actually the most powerful creature to walk these lands in centuries, he'll either fear you or try to exploit you. Same with that witch he married. How do you know about Vivian? Arya demanded. Because I make it my business to know my enemies, Cade replied. Vivian isn't her real name, it's Morgana Darkwater, from a coven of dark witches who've been trying to infiltrate werewolf packs for generations. She killed your mother, by the way. Not slowly through poison that came after. She killed Serafina directly, made it look like illness, and then spent 18 years ensuring you'd never manifest the power that runs in your bloodline. The room tilted. Arya grabbed the edge of her small desk for support. You can't know that. I can prove it, Cade said flatly. I have testimony from a witch in my territory who used to be part of Morgana's coven. She defected years ago, came to me for protection. She's been telling me about Morgana's plans for over a decade, but I could never figure out why a dark witch would want to infiltrate Silver Creek Pack specifically. His smile was grim. Until 3 nights ago, when power that shouldn't exist exploded from your territory. Then it all made sense. Sense how? Esther asked sharply. Luna wolves are born, not made, Cade explained. But they're also incredibly rare, usually only appearing in bloodlines that have been blessed by the moon goddess herself. Serafina was a moon singer, which meant her daughter had the potential to be even more powerful. He looked at Arya. Morgana must have sensed that potential when you were young. So she eliminated your mother and took her place, close enough to keep you suppressed, to ensure you'd never become a threat. But why? Arya's voice cracked. Why go through all that trouble? Why not just kill me too? Because killing a child blessed by the moon goddess brings a curse, Esther said quietly, understanding dawning in her eyes. The goddess protects her chosen until they come of age. Morgana couldn't risk divine retribution, so she did the next best thing. She poisoned you, kept you weak, ensured you'd never awaken. And it almost worked, Cade said. If not for the moon water, you'd have remained dormant forever. Morgana would have won. He paused. But now you've awakened. And she knows something's different about you, I can guarantee it. Which means you have a choice to make, Arya Blackwood. A choice that will determine whether you survive the next 4 days. Arya looked between Cade and her grandmother, her mind racing. Everything she'd believed about her life, her family, her place in the pack, it was built on lies and poison and murder. What choice? She asked. You can stay here, try to hide what you are, and hope your father protects you when the truth comes out, Cade said. Spoiler alert, he won't. The mate bond Morgana has over him is too strong, and he's too weak to break it. Or? Arya pressed. Or you leave with me tonight, Cade said bluntly. Come to Shadowfang territory. Let me help you learn to control your power, to understand what you are. And when you're ready, when you're strong enough that no alpha or witch can threaten you, you can decide what you want to do about your family, your pack, and your future. That's insane, Arya said immediately. You're asking me to abandon everything. To trust a stranger who literally just said he considered killing me. I'm offering you survival, Cade interrupted, and training, and the truth. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. You're in danger, Arya. Real danger. Morgana will move against you soon, she has to, before you fully master your abilities. Your father won't protect you, your half-sister wants you gone, and in 4 days, when you're supposed to prove you have a wolf. He trailed off meaningfully. I'll shift, Arya said. We have a plan. I'll show them a normal wolf, something believable. And the 3 alphas who sensed your awakening? Cade asked. Thorn and Zephyr aren't idiots. The moment you shift, even into a disguised form, they'll sense the power underneath. They'll know. And then it becomes a race to see who can claim you first. The weight of his words pressed down on Arya like physical force. He was right. She'd been so focused on fooling her father, on surviving the 7-day deadline, that she hadn't thought about what came after, about the visiting alphas who were watching her every move, waiting for proof. I need time to think. A scream shattered the night. All 3 of them froze. Then Cade was moving, faster than Arya's eyes could track, throwing open her door. The scent hit her immediately. Smoke, fire, and underneath it, something chemical and wrong. The West Wing, Esther breathed, horror in her voice. That's where the archives are kept. All the pack records, the old texts, the evidence of your mother's bloodline, Cade finished grimly. Morgana's making her move. She's destroying anything that could prove what you are. Arya pushed past him, running toward the smoke. The pack house was chaos, wolves running in every direction, some shifted, some human, all shouting about the fire. She rounded the corner to the West Wing and stopped dead. The entire corridor was engulfed in flames, but these weren't normal flames. They burned green and purple, twisting like living things. And they spread despite the water wolves were throwing on them. Witch fire, Cade growled, appearing beside her. It can't be extinguished by normal means, only by the one who cast it, or by someone with equal power, a familiar voice said. Arya turned to find Vivian Morgana standing at the far end of the corridor, her expression serene despite the chaos around her. In the firelight, she looked different. Older, crueler, like the mask she'd worn for 18 years had finally slipped. Terrible accident, Morgana said, her voice carrying over the roar of flames. A servant knocked over a lamp in the archives. So careless. But I'm afraid everything in that wing will be lost. Her eyes locked on Arya, and her smile was poisonous. All those old records, all those bloodline documents, all that proof of, well, ancient history. Really, nothing important. You're destroying evidence, Arya said, pieces clicking into place. The records of my mother's lineage. The prophecies. Anything that could prove. Prove what? Morgana's voice turned sharp. That you're special? That you're anything other than a wolfless disappointment? She laughed, and the sound made Arya's skin crawl. Oh, my dear stepdaughter, even if you did have a wolf, even if you somehow manifested something impressive, do you really think Gabriel would choose you over Lyanna? Over me? Where is my father? Arya demanded. Dealing with pack business, Morgana said dismissively. He's very busy. Very suggestible when he's busy. Her smile widened. He won't be joining us for this little conversation. Cade moved to stand beside Arya, his body language pure threat. Morgana Darkwater. I wondered when you'd stop hiding behind your mask. Morgana's expression flickered surprise, then calculation. Alpha Cade. How unexpected. I didn't realize you made a habit of interfering in other packs' internal matters. I make a habit of stopping dark witches from killing innocents, Cade replied coldly. Though I admit, I'm impressed. 18 years is a long con, even for your coven. My former coven, Morgana corrected. I've found pack life much more profitable. She gestured at the flames, which suddenly intensified. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an accident to conclude. These old buildings, so much dry wood, wouldn't want the fire to spread to, say, the servants' quarters, where all those flammable textiles are stored, where people might be sleeping. It was a threat, clear and unmistakable. She'll kill innocent wolves just to get to me, Arya realized with cold horror. She'll burn down the entire pack house if she has to. Stop the fire, Arya said, stepping forward. Stop it now, or I swear. You'll what? Morgana's laugh was cruel. Throw a tantrum? Cry to daddy? You have no power here, little wolf. You've never had power. And in 4 days, when you fail to shift, when Gabriel strips you of your name and reduces you to Omega. She leaned forward, eyes glittering. I'll make sure you spend the rest of your very short life regretting every moment your mother passed her tainted blood to you. Something inside, Arya snapped. 18 years of poison. 18 years of lies. 18 years of being told she was nothing, while this witch systematically destroyed everything her mother had been, everything Arya should have become. No more. You want to see power? Arya heard herself say, her voice strange, layered with harmonics that made the air vibrate. You want to see what my mother's tainted blood gave me? Arya, don't. Cade's warning came too late. Arya reached inside herself, to that vast presence she'd been desperately hiding. The Luna wolf that had awakened 3 nights ago. Show her, Arya thought. Show her what we are. With pleasure, the Luna wolf purred. Power exploded from Arya's core like a detonating star. Silver light poured from her skin, so bright that wolves cried out and covered their eyes. The witch fire recoiled as if burned, retreating from the radiance that emanated from Arya's body. And then she shifted. But not into the careful, controlled, normal-looking wolf she and Grandmother Esther had been practicing. Into her true form. The transformation was apocalyptic. Reality itself seemed to bend around her as Arya's body restructured, grew, became something that transcended the normal boundaries of wolf. Silver fur erupted across her skin, metallic and gleaming, her bones reformed with sounds like breaking thunder. And when the transformation completed, the corridor fell absolutely silent. Arya stood in her Luna wolf form, twice the size of any normal alpha, her silver fur generating its own light that pushed back the darkness. The crescent moon marking on her chest blazed like a brand, surrounded by stars that twinkled as if she'd stolen them from the night sky. Her eyes molten silver, swirling with ancient power fixed on Morgana. And for the first time in 18 years, Arya saw genuine fear in her stepmother's face. Hello, murderer. Arya's voice echoed directly into Morgana's mind, into every mind in the pack house, impossible to block or ignore. Did you really think your poison could kill what the moon goddess herself created? Morgana stumbled backward, her composure shattered. No, this is impossible. You were suppressed. You should have been dormant for life. You killed my mother. Arya's mental voice was ice and fury. You poisoned me. You tried to erase everything I was meant to be. She took a step forward, and the floor cracked under her paws. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? The witch fire suddenly roared back to life, but now it was aimed at Arya. Green flames shot toward her like living spears, hot enough to melt stone. Arya opened her jaws and howled. The sound wasn't just noise, it was power made audible. It was the voice of the moon goddess, channeled through mortal flesh. The howl shattered windows, cracked walls, and most importantly, extinguished every trace of witch fire, as if it had never existed. When the echoes faded, the corridor was dark, except for the silver light emanating from Arya's form. Morgana was on her knees, blood trickling from her nose and ears. Around them, wolves were flat on the ground, heads bowed in automatic submission to a power they couldn't comprehend. Even Cade had dropped to one knee, though his eyes never left Arya, calculating, awed, and something else. Something that might have been hunger. "You should run," Arya told Morgana, her mental voice cold as death. "Run far and fast, witch, because if I ever see you again, I won't just stop your fire. I'll make you burn in ways your dark magic couldn't even imagine." Morgana scrambled to her feet, her mask of humanity completely shattered. Her face had taken on a greenish tint, her eyes reflecting her true nature, old, cruel, and very, very afraid. "This isn't over," she spat. "The council will hear about this. The greater packs will hear that a Luna wolf walks among them." Cade interrupted, rising to his feet. "And that she's under my protection. Unless," he glanced at Arya. "She has other plans?" Before Arya could respond, more voices erupted from the main hall. Alpha Gabriel's voice, furious and confused. Lyanna's shriek of disbelief, and underneath it all, the approaching footsteps of Thorn and Zephyr, drawn by the power display like moths to flame. "They're coming," the Luna wolf whispered in Arya's mind. "All of them. Coming to claim us, to use us, to cage us. What do we do, little sister?" Arya looked at the destroyed corridor, at Morgana's terrified face, at Cade's extended hand. She thought about 4 more days of hiding, of pretending, of waiting for her father to strip her of her name. She thought about 3 alphas who would fight over her like a prize. She thought about everything she'd lost, and everything she'd finally, impossibly, become, and she made her choice. "We run," Arya decided. "We run, and we learn what we truly are. And then," Cade asked softly, somehow sensing her thoughts. Arya shifted back to human form. A much smoother transition this time, and stood naked and unbowed in the center of the destroyed corridor. "And then," she said aloud, her voice her own but carrying echoes of the Luna wolf's power, "we come back, and we make them all bow." She took Cade's offered hand, and together, they vanished into the night, leaving behind a pack in chaos, a witch in ruins, and a prophecy finally, terribly fulfilled. If Arya's transformation from nothing to unstoppable resonates with you, hit subscribe if you haven't, because this is just the beginning of her vengeance, and you won't want to miss what happens when she returns with her full power unleashed. Chapter 5. Shadows and Silver. The Shadowfang pack was nothing like Silver Creek, where Arya's home pack had been all elegant packhouses and carefully maintained hierarchies. Cade's territory was raw, wild, untamed. The pack lived in a fortress carved into the side of a mountain, surrounded by dense forests that seemed to whisper with ancient secrets. The wolves here were harder, scarper survivors who'd been forged in conflict and chaos, and they all knew exactly what Arya was. "Again," Cade's voice cracked like a whip across the training grounds. Arya shifted for the 20th time that morning from human to Luna wolf and back. Each transformation was smoother than the last, more controlled, but it still felt like trying to contain an ocean in a teacup. "Faster," Cade demanded. "In a real fight, hesitation means death. You need to shift on instinct, not conscious thought." Arya glared at him through eyes that flickered between gray and molten silver. "Easy for you to say. You're not trying to control enough power to level a small city, which is exactly why you need to master it." Cade circled her like a predator assessing prey, which, technically, he was. "Right now, you're a weapon that might explode in any direction. I need you to be a weapon that strikes exactly where you intend." "I'm not a weapon," Arya snapped. "No?" Cade's smile was sharp. "Then what are you? A lost princess waiting for rescue? A victim nursing wounds?" He moved faster than thought, suddenly in her space, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "Or are you what I saw a week ago, a Luna wolf who made a dark witch piss herself with fear and brought an entire pack to their knees with a single howl?" Arya's power flared in response to his challenge, silver light crackling around her like lightning. "Careful, Alpha. You might not like what happens if you push too hard." "There she is." Cade's grin widened. "That's the wolf I'm looking for. Not the scared girl who spent 18 years apologizing for existing, the predator who takes what she's owed." Before Arya could respond, a new voice interrupted. "If you two are done with the aggressive flirting, We have a situation. Thorn leaned against the training ground entrance, copper hair catching the morning light. The Crimson Claw Alpha had arrived 3 days ago, claiming he wanted to observe Arya's training. Really? He was making sure Cade didn't try to claim her without competition. What situation? Cade's tone went flat. All business. Your witch guest is asking for an audience with our Luna Wolf. Thorn's expression was carefully neutral. Says she has information about Morgana's plans. Plans that involve a gathering of the Greater Pack Council. Arya's stomach clenched. The witch from Cade's territory? The one who defected from Morgana's coven? Elena Shadowmere. Cade confirmed. I've been keeping her in protective custody for years. If she's breaking silence now, it's important. He looked at Arya. Your call. Want to hear what she has to say? Did she? Part of Arya wanted nothing to do with anything connected to Morgana, but the smarter part, the part that was slowly learning to think like an alpha rather than a victim, knew that information was power. Let's hear it, Arya said. The council chamber. Elena Shadowmere was not what Arya expected. She'd pictured someone dark and menacing, dripping with malevolence. Instead, Elena looked tired. She was perhaps 40, with graying brown hair and eyes that had seen too much. When she saw Arya enter the chamber, she actually smiled soft and genuine. By the goddess, Elena breathed. You really are real. A Luna Wolf. I'd started to think Morgana was chasing phantoms all these years. You know why she targeted me? Arya asked, settling into a chair across from the witch. Cade and Thorn flanked her like dark bookends, a united front despite their rivalry. I know everything, Elena said simply. I was her confidant for 15 years before I defected. I helped her research the Blackwood bloodline. Helped her identify your mother as a moonsinger. Helped her. Her voice cracked. Helped her plan Seraphina's murder. The admission hung in the air like poison. Arya's hands clenched into fists, power flickering beneath her skin. You helped kill my mother. Yes. Elena didn't flinch from the accusation. I did. And I've spent every day since trying to atone for that sin. When I finally understood what Morgana really wanted, when I realized she wasn't just consolidating power but trying to destroy something sacred, I ran. Came to Alpha Cade, told him everything I knew. She leaned forward. But Morgana's plans have evolved, and you need to know what's coming. Speak, Cade commanded. Elena pulled out a worn leather journal, its pages covered in cramped handwriting and arcane symbols. Morgana didn't just want to suppress your power, Arya. She wanted to harvest it. Luna wolves are conduits for the moon goddess's energy, which means their blood, their essence, can be used in rituals that would make a witch nearly godlike. Harvest? Thorn's voice was cold. You mean kill her and drain her power? Not just kill. Consume. There's a ritual forbidden even among dark witches that would allow Morgana to absorb a Luna wolf's abilities permanently. She'd become something unprecedented. A witch with divine wolf power. Elena's expression was haunted. She's been planning it for 19 years, since she first sensed your potential in the womb. Everything marrying your father, poisoning you, suppressing your awakening, it was all building to the moment she could perform the ritual. Arya felt sick. So the only reason I'm alive is because she couldn't kill me while I was under the goddess's protection? Exactly. But now you've awakened. Now you're fair game. Elena flipped through the journal. And she's not working alone anymore. She's called a gathering of the Greater Pack Council, all 12 ruling alphas of the Northern Territories. She's claiming Silver Creek Pack has been infiltrated by a dangerous rogue wolf who attacked pack members and destroyed property. Me, Arya said flatly. She's painting me as the villain. Worse. She's claiming you're a corrupted Luna wolf, one twisted by dark magic rather than blessed by the goddess. She's arguing that you're a threat to all packs, and that the council needs to authorize a sanctioned hunt. Elena looked directly at Arya. If the council agrees, you'll be declared enemy to all packs, hunted, killed on sight, and perfectly legal according to werewolf law. The chamber fell silent. When? Cade's voice was ice. The council meets in 3 days, Elena said. At the gathering grounds, neutral territory where no single alpha has advantage. Morgana will present her case, show evidence of the destruction you caused, and call for your execution. She paused. Your father will speak in favor of the hunt. Lyanna will testify against you, and unless someone speaks in your defense, someone the council will actually listen to, you'll be condemned. Then I'll speak for her, Cade said immediately. The Shadow Fang Pack offers sanctuary. It won't be enough, Thorn interrupted. No offense, but one alpha's word against Gabriel Blackwood's, with Morgana's manipulations behind it. He shook his head. The council will side with the established alpha. They always do. Then what do you suggest? Cade's tone could have frozen fire. Thorn looked at Arya, something calculating in his gaze. She needs to present herself to the council. Not as a rogue to be hunted, but as what she truly is, a Luna wolf blessed by the goddess. If she stands before the 12 alphas and demonstrates her power, demonstrates her control, they won't dare condemn her. That's insane, Arya said immediately. Walk into a room full of alphas who want me dead and just, what? Put on a show? Not a show, Thorn corrected. A challenge. The old laws say that any wolf accused of crimes has the right to trial by combat. If you invoke that right, if you challenge your accuser to face you in single combat, the council has to honor it. You want me to fight Morgana? Arya's laugh was bitter. She's had decades to perfect her magic. I've had a week to figure out how to shift without accidentally destroying buildings. You won't fight Morgana, Cade said slowly, understanding dawning. You'll fight whoever she designates as her champion. And I'm betting she chooses Lyanna, Arya finished, her stomach dropping. She'll make Lyanna fight me. Her perfect white wolf against her corrupted sister. Elena nodded grimly. It's exactly what Morgana would do. It gives her plausible deniability. She's not fighting herself, just defending her daughter's honor. And when Lyanna wins... She didn't finish the sentence. Except Lyanna won't win, Thorn said with certainty. Luna wolf against alpha wolf? There's no contest. You'd destroy her. Which is why it's perfect, Arya said bitterly, understanding clicking into place. If I refuse to fight, I'm admitting guilt, and I die. If I fight and lose, I die. And if I fight and win, if I kill my own sister in front of the council, I prove I'm exactly the monster Morgana claims I am. The trap was elegant, vicious, and perfectly designed to destroy her no matter what choice she made. There has to be another way. Cade growled. There isn't. A new voice joined the conversation, smooth, cultured, and carrying an authority that made even Cade and Thorn straighten slightly. Zephyr, the Storm Wind Alpha, entered the chamber, like he'd been invited all along. His pale features were thoughtful, those two knowing eyes fixed on Arya. You've been listening, Cade accused. Of course I have. Zephyr moved to stand beside Arya's chair, one hand resting casually on its back, a subtle claim of territory. Did you really think I'd let you two plot without oversight? He looked at Arya. Thorn is right about the trial by combat. It's your only legal option, but he's wrong about one critical detail. What detail? Arya asked warily. You don't have to kill Lyanna, Zephyr said simply. You just have to defeat her. Prove you're stronger. Make her submit. The council laws don't require death, only clear victory. His smile was slight. And a Luna wolf forcing an alpha to submit? That would send a message Morgana couldn't twist. It would prove you're in control, not corrupted. Powerful, not dangerous. And if I can't control it? Arya's voice was small. If I shift, and the power takes over, and I do kill her, then we make sure you can control it, Cade said firmly. 3 days. We have 3 days to teach you precision, restraint, and how to use your power like a scalpel instead of a bomb. That's impossible. Nothing about you is impossible, Thorn interrupted. You're a Luna wolf. You contain divine power. If anyone can master their abilities in 3 days, it's you. He grinned. Besides, you'll have the 3 most powerful alphas in the Northern Territories training you. If we can't whip you into shape, no one can. Arya looked between the 3 alphas, Cade with his dark intensity, Thorn with his wild confidence, Zephyr with his calculating intelligence. 3 rivals who should be enemies, united by, what? Genuine desire to help her? Or their own agendas? Why are you all doing this? She asked quietly. Any of you could walk away, let Morgana have her hunt, eliminate a potential rival before I become a real threat. So, why help me? Cade spoke first. Because I've spent my life fighting witches who think they can manipulate wolves. Seeing Morgana lose gives me professional satisfaction. Thorn's grin was sharp. Because the look on Gabriel Blackwood's face when his defective daughter returns more powerful than his golden child will be absolutely priceless. Zephyr's answer was quietest, but somehow carried the most weight. Because Luna wolves appear once every few centuries for a reason. They're catalysts. They change the world, and I want to see what world you'll create. Arya looked at Elena, who'd been watching the exchange with something like hope. What do you think? Arya asked the witch. Can I do this? Elena smiled sadly. Your mother stood against an entire pack that called her weak. She proved them all wrong. You have her blood, her power, and... She glanced at the 3 alphas. Considerably more backup than she ever did. She closed her journal. Yes, Arya Blackwood, I think you can do this. The question is, do you believe you can? Arya thought about 18 years of being nothing. Being worthless. Being broken. She thought about the Luna wolf inside her, ancient and powerful, waiting to be unleashed. She thought about Morgana's face when Arya had revealed her true form, the fear, the disbelief, the rage. And she thought about standing before the Greater Pack Council and showing them all exactly what a Luna wolf could do. 3 days, Arya said, standing. Power rippled around her, making the air shimmer. You have 3 days to turn me into someone who can face down 12 alphas and a dark witch. Think you can manage it? Cade's grin was predatory. Oh, we'll manage. Thorn laughed. This is going to be fun. Zephyr simply nodded, but his eyes gleamed with anticipation. Then let's get started, Arya said. She let her eyes shift to molten silver, let power crackle across her skin. Because in 3 days, I'm going to walk into that council chamber, and I'm going to make them all remember why Luna wolves are legends. 2 days later, training grounds, midnight. Arya was bleeding from a dozen wounds, her body screaming in protest, her mind foggy with exhaustion, and she'd never felt more alive. Again! Cade's command echoed across the grounds. All 3 alphas were in their wolf forms now, circling her like the predators they were. For 2 solid days, they'd pushed her to her limits and beyond, teaching her to fight, to shift mid-combat, to use her power with surgical precision rather than overwhelming force. And now, the final test. 3 alphas. 1 Luna wolf. Last one standing wins. Arya shifted, her transformation now smooth as water, and her Luna wolf form erupted forth in a cascade of silver light. She was learning to control the radiance, to dim it when she needed stealth, to amplify it when she wanted to blind opponents. Cade struck first, a blur of shadow and teeth aimed at her throat. But Arya was ready. She twisted, caught his momentum, and used his own weight to slam him into the ground. The Luna wolf's strength wasn't just physical, it was reality-bending. She could make herself heavier, lighter, faster by sheer will. Thorn came next, fire in his movements, pure aggression. He was testing her reflexes, her ability to defend against overwhelming assault. Arya met him head-on, and the clash of their bodies sent shockwaves through the ground. But then Zephyr attacked silent, calculated, going for her legs to trip her balance. The pale alpha fought like water, flowing around her defenses, finding weaknesses she didn't know she had. Clever, the Luna wolf purred in Arya's mind. But not clever enough. Arya howled not the reality-shattering howl from a week ago, but something more controlled. A wave of pure alpha command that froze all 3 males mid-attack. For just a heartbeat, they were immobilized, every instinct screaming at them to submit to the superior predator. In that heartbeat, Arya moved. She had Cade pinned with 1 paw, Thorn's throat in her jaws, gently, but unmistakably, and Zephyr forced to the ground with the weight of her power alone. 3 alphas, defeated. Not through brute force, but through precision, strategy, and the judicious application of Luna wolf authority. Arya released them, shifting back to human form. She stood naked and unbowed in the moonlight, breathing hard, bleeding, but victorious. Well? She asked, looking at each alpha in turn. Did I pass your test? Cade shifted back, a smile splitting his face. You didn't just pass, you dominated. Thorn laughed, rubbing his throat. Gentle with the teeth. I see. You're learning restraint. Zephyr stood more slowly, his expression unreadable. Then he bowed, actually bowed from the waist. You're ready, Luna Wolf. Tomorrow, when you face the council, they won't know what hit them. Arya felt something shift inside her. Not the power that was always there now, humming beneath her skin, but her sense of self, her understanding of who she'd become. She wasn't Arya Blackwood, the worthless, wolfless daughter anymore. She was Arya, Luna Wolf, and tomorrow, she'd prove it to the world. Chapter 6. The Council's Judgment. The gathering grounds existed in the space between territories, neutral land, where no alpha held power, where ancient laws superseded pack politics. A massive circular arena carved from white stone, open to the sky, surrounded by 12 throne-like seats for the ruling alphas. In the center, a raised platform where the accused would stand, where Arya would stand. She arrived with Kade, Thorn, and Zephyr at dawn, the 3 alphas forming a protective triangle around her. She wore simple white, the color of innocence, of truth, of wolves who had nothing to hide. Her hair was unbound, falling in dark waves down her back. No jewelry, no adornment, just Arya, and the power that hummed beneath her skin. Remember, Cade murmured as they approached the arena entrance. Stay calm. Don't let Morgana provoke you into a display before you're ready. Answer their questions with confidence, not arrogance, Thorn added. You're not begging for mercy, you're claiming your rightful place. And when the time comes to fight, Zephyr finished quietly, show them control, precision. Make it clear you choose mercy, you aren't forced into it by weakness. Arya nodded, her throat tight. Through the arena entrance, she could already hear voices, hundreds of them. The council had invited witnesses from every major pack. This wasn't just a trial, it was a spectacle. Are you ready, little sister? The Luna Wolf asked in her mind. No, Arya admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. Good. That's what courage is. They entered the arena, and the noise hit like a physical wave. Hundreds of wolves packed the viewing galleries, alphas, betas, warriors, and witnesses from across the northern territories. Their scents mingled in an overwhelming flood. Curiosity, hostility, excitement, fear. And above it all, the unmistakable stench of dark magic. Morgana sat in the section reserved for the Silver Creek pack, looking every inch the grieving stepmother. She wore black, her face carefully composed into an expression of sorrowful concern. Beside her, Alpha Gabriel looked older than Arya, remembered, drawn, tired, his eyes distant. The mate bond was still there, still controlling him. And beside them, resplendent in white and gold, sat Lyanna. Arya's half-sister met her eyes across the arena, and the hatred there was pure and uncomplicated. No more pretense of sisterly affection, just raw, burning jealousy and rage. She knows, Arya realized. She knows I'm more powerful than she'll ever be, and it's destroying her. Silence. The voice boomed across the arena, enhanced by Alpha Command. Arya's attention snapped to the 12 thrones. The Greater Pack Council had assembled. 12 alphas, each one a legend in their own right. She recognized a few. Alpha Fenris of the Iron Claw Pack, ancient and scarred. Alpha Sable of the Moonfire Pack, the only female alpha on the council. Alpha Darius of the Bloodstone Pack, whose territory bordered Silver Creek. And at the center, in the largest throne, sat Alpha Constantine of the Northern Star Pack, the council's elected leader, whose word carried the weight of law. Constantine was massive, even sitting down, with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. His gaze swept the arena, silencing the crowd with sheer presence. We are gathered to hear accusations of rogue behavior and potential corruption. Constantine's voice carried to every corner without strain. Alpha Gabriel, Blackwood of the Silver Creek Pack, has brought charges against. He consulted a document. Arya Blackwood, claiming she attacked pack members, destroyed property, and demonstrated powers inconsistent with divine blessing. He looked directly at Arya. Step forward, accused. Arya moved to the center platform alone. Cade, Thorn, and Zephyr had to remain in the witness section. Council law forbade pack allies from standing with the accused during initial proceedings. You can do this, Arya told herself, even as her knees threatened to buckle. You're not nothing anymore. You're a monster. Lyanna's voice rang out before the formal proceedings could begin. She stood, pointing at Arya with theatrical accusation. She almost killed me. She destroyed an entire wing of our pack house. She, Alpha Lyanna, Constantine's tone was razor sharp. You will wait your turn to speak, or you will be removed from these proceedings. Lyanna flushed but sat down, though her glare at Arya intensified. Alpha Gabriel, Constantine continued, present your case. Gabriel stood, and for a moment, Arya saw something flicker in his eyes, pain, regret. But then it was gone, replaced by cold formality. Honored counsel, Gabriel began. 3 weeks ago, my eldest daughter, manifested abilities that we initially believed to be a late wolf emergence. However, the manner of her manifestation was troubling. He pulled out documents, photographs. Witness testimony described silver fire, reality distortion, and a power that forced even senior warriors to their knees involuntarily. An entire wing of our pack house was destroyed. Several pack members suffered injuries, and when confronted, Arya fled rather than submit to pack justice. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The evidence looked damning, presented without context. Furthermore, Gabriel's voice hardened. Our pack witch Luna Vivian has examined the residual magic from Arya's transformation. Her findings suggest corruption, dark magic, the kind that twists a wolf's nature and creates something wrong. Lies. The word burst from Arya before she could stop it. She's the one who used dark magic. She's not even a wolf, she's a witch who infiltrated our pack. Silence. Constantine's command crashed over her. You will speak when given permission, not before. Arya's jaw clenched shut, fury and frustration warring in her chest. Morgana stood now, her expression perfect wounded dignity. Council members, I understand the accused is desperate to deflect blame. But I have served the Silver Creek Pack faithfully for 18 years. I have documentation of my bloodline, testimonies from pack members, and she produced a vial of shimmering liquid, evidence of my wolf nature. This is essence extracted from my shifted form, preserved and sealed. It proves beyond doubt that I am what I claim to be. It was a lie. It had to be. But how could Arya prove it? If I may, honored counsel? A new voice, calm, feminine, and carrying absolute certainty. Elena Shadowmere stood from the witness section, and Morgana's face went white. This woman is not a credible witness. Morgana's composure cracked. She is a convicted criminal, a traitor to her coven. She is also the witch who provided testimony that led to the dissolution of the Darkwater Coven and the imprisonment of 12 dark witches, Cade interjected, rising to his feet. Her information has been verified by 3 separate pack investigations. If anyone knows dark magic when she sees it, it's Elena Shadowmere. Constantine held up a hand. The witness may speak, but choose your words carefully, witch. False testimony before this council carries severe penalties. Elena walked to the center platform, standing beside Arya. Up close, Arya could see her trembling, whether from fear or rage, she couldn't tell. The vial Luna Vivian presented is a fake, Elena said flatly. It contains essence, yes, but not her own. It's stolen probably from a deceased wolf, preserved through necromancy. A trick the Darkwater Coven perfected decades ago. She turned to face Morgana directly. I should know. I helped you steal it. Morgana, 17 years ago, we took it from a young wolf who died in what was ruled an accident. Do you remember her name? Cassandra Nightshade. She was 19 years old. The arena erupted in chaos, wolves shouting, alphas demanding order, and Morgana screaming denials. But Elena pressed on, her voice somehow cutting through the noise. Morgana Darkwater infiltrated the Silver Creek Pack with one purpose: to harvest the power of a Luna wolf. She murdered Seraphina Blackwood because the Moon Singer was too strong to suppress, and she poisoned Arya from age 7 onward, keeping her dormant until she could figure out how to perform the harvesting ritual safely. Lies, Morgana shrieked. All lies from a bitter, jealous witch. Then prove it, Elena said simply. Shift. Right here, right now. Show the council your wolf. The silence was absolute. Morgana's face cycled through a dozen emotions: rage, fear, calculation. I don't need to prove myself to a criminal. You do, actually. Alpha Sable spoke for the first time, her voice clear and hard. If you're accused of being a false wolf, pack law requires you to demonstrate your nature. Shift, Luna Vivian. Or be declared imposter and forfeit all legal standing. Morgana's eyes darted around the arena, looking for escape. Then her gaze landed on Liana, and something ugly and desperate crossed her face. Very well, Morgana said, her voice suddenly cold and controlled. I'll prove my innocence, but first, she pointed at Arya. Let's address the real corruption here. The girl who destroyed pack property, who attacked her own family, who radiates power that makes even alphas uncomfortable. Whether I'm a wolf or a witch is irrelevant if we allow a corrupted Luna wolf to exist unchallenged. Clever, vicious. Shifting focus away from herself and back onto Arya. The accused does radiate unusual power, Alpha Fenris rumbled. I can feel it from here, like standing near a lightning storm. Because she's a Luna wolf. Zephyr stood, his voice carrying absolute certainty. Not corrupted, not twisted. Blessed. The first true Luna wolf in 3 centuries. The crowd's reaction was immediate, and visceral gasps, shouts, disbelief. Impossible, Gabriel said. But his voice wavered. Is it? Thorn joined Zephyr, then Cade stood as well. 3 alphas, united. We've all witnessed her power, we've all trained with her, and we can all testify that she demonstrates perfect control, divine blessing, and no corruption whatsoever. 3 alphas who conveniently want to claim her as a mate, Liana spat, standing. Of course you'd defend her. You want to use her power for yourselves, as opposed to your mother, who wants to harvest it. Cade's voice was ice. Enough. Constantine's command silenced everyone. This has become chaos. We will settle this the old way, trial by combat. He looked at Arya. Arya Blackwood, you are accused of corruption and rogue behavior. Do you accept trial by combat to prove your innocence? This was it. The moment everything came down to. Arya took a breath and spoke clearly. I do. Then choose your champion, or fight yourself. I'll fight myself, Arya said. I have nothing to hide. Very well. Constantine turned to Gabriel. As the accuser's alpha, you may designate a champion to face her. Gabriel looked at Morgana, who whispered something Arya couldn't hear. Then his face hardened, and Arya knew what was coming even before he spoke. Liana Blackwood will serve as champion, Gabriel announced. She is my acknowledged heir, my strongest wolf, and has been personally wronged by the accused. She has the right to defend her pack's honor. Liana stepped forward, already beginning to shift. Her white wolf emerged in a display of power that would have impressed anyone who hadn't seen a Luna wolf. She was magnificent, large, powerful, gleaming with alpha potential. But Arya saw the fear in her eyes. Liana knew she couldn't win. This was a suicide mission, and Morgana had volunteered her own daughter for it. She's going to sacrifice Liana, Arya realized with horror. Win or lose, Morgana doesn't care. If I kill Liana, I'm a monster. If Liana somehow wins, Morgana eliminates me. Either way, Morgana comes out ahead. Combat will begin when both fighters are in the ring, Constantine declared. Combat ends when one submits, is rendered unconscious, or, he paused, dies. The victor's truth becomes law. The arena floor cleared. Liana moved to one side, her white wolf pacing, snarling. Every line of her body screamed aggression, terror, and desperate determination. Arya moved to the opposite side. She could feel every eye on her, every alpha assessing, every wolf waiting to see what she really was. Show them, the Luna wolf whispered. Show them all what we are. But show them mercy too. Show them we choose to be merciful, not because we must, but because we can. Arya closed her eyes and reached for that vast well of power inside her, and shifted. The transformation was instantaneous, controlled, and absolutely stunning. Silver light poured from her body as she became her true self, the Luna Wolf, in all her divine glory. Twice Lyanna's size, fur like liquid moonlight, eyes swirling with molten silver. The crescent moon on her chest blazed, surrounded by stars that actually twinkled. Power radiated from her in waves that made the very air shimmer. The crowd's reaction was deafening. Howls of awe, gasps of fear, shouts of disbelief. And from the 12 thrones, silence. Absolute, stunned silence. Even Constantine looked shaken, his ice-chip eyes wide. "Goddess preserve us," Alpha Sable breathed. "It's true. A Luna Wolf walks among us." Lyanna hesitated, her earlier bravado crumbling in the face of Arya's revealed nature. She was an alpha wolf, impressive, powerful, everything she'd been raised to be. But Arya was divine. "Begin!" Constantine's voice cracked like thunder. Lyanna attacked immediately, probably hoping speed would give her an advantage. She was fast, incredibly fast, her white form a blur as she went for Arya's throat. Arya didn't move. She didn't need to. The Luna Wolf's presence alone created a field of force that slowed Lyanna mid-leap, like she'd hit invisible water. Lyanna struggled against it, snarling, snapping, trying to reach her target. Arya simply looked at her. "Submit." Arya's mental voice touched Lyanna's mind, gentle, not forced. "You don't have to die today, sister. Submit, and this ends." "Never." Lyanna's mental voice was ragged with fear and fury. "I won't bow to you. I'm the alpha heir. She broke through the resistance through sheer force of will and landed on Arya's back, teeth seeking purchase in silver fur. Arya allowed it. Let Lyanna bite, claw, attack with everything she had, and felt nothing. The Luna Wolf's hide was impervious to normal wolf attacks. Lyanna might as well have been biting stone. After 30 seconds of futile assault, Lyanna backed off, panting, confused. She'd thrown everything she had at Arya and hadn't even drawn blood. "You can't hurt me," Arya told her gently. "But I can hurt you. So please, Lyanna. Submit. Let this end without more pain." Lyanna's response was to howl a challenge, a cry of rage and desperation. She attacked again and again, each assault more frantic than the last. Arya let her exhaust herself. Let her prove to everyone watching that this wasn't even a fight, it was a mercy. Finally, Lyanna collapsed, sides heaving, utterly spent. She'd given everything and accomplished nothing. Arya walked over to her slowly, deliberately. She placed one massive paw on Lyanna's side, not crushing, just restraining, and leaned down until her muzzle was inches from her sister's throat. One bite, one moment. That's all it would take to end this. The arena held its breath. "I could kill you." Arya's mental voice was soft, sad. "But I won't. Because you're my sister. And despite everything, I still remember when we were young, before Mother poisoned you against me, before you learned to hate me." She paused. "Submit, Lyanna. Accept that you lost. And maybe, someday, we can figure out how to be family again." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Lyanna's wolf went limp, exposing her throat completely. The ultimate submission. Defeat acknowledged. Arya removed her paw and stepped back. Lyanna shifted back to human, curling on the ground, sobbing with exhaustion and humiliation. But alive, whole, shown mercy. Arya shifted back to human as well, standing tall and unbowed in the center of the arena. "The combat is concluded." Constantine's voice was strained. "Arya Blackwood is victorious. Her truth is accepted." He paused, seeming to gather himself. "Furthermore, it is the judgment of this council that Arya Blackwood is, in fact, a Luna Wolf blessed by the Moon Goddess, not corrupted. All charges are dismissed." The crowd erupted, some in celebration, some in shock, all in chaos. But Arya's attention was on Morgana. The witch was already moving, backing toward the arena exit. She'd lost, her champion defeated, her accusations proven false. And now Elena's testimony would be investigated, her fake wolf essence examined. She was running. "Stop her!" Arya's voice rang out, enhanced by Luna Wolf authority. Every wolf in the arena froze, even the alphas, though they recovered quickly. Cade, Thorn, and Zephyr moved as one, blocking Morgana's escape routes. "You murdered my mother," Arya said, walking toward Morgana with deliberate steps. "You poisoned me for 18 years. You tried to destroy me, to harvest my power, to twist everything I was meant to be." She stood before the witch, naked and unashamed, radiating power that made the air crackle. "Did you really think you'd walk away from this?" Morgana's mask finally shattered completely. Her face twisted, revealing the dark witch beneath eyes going black, skin taking on a greenish tint, power coiling around her like smoke. "You should have stayed dormant," Morgana hissed. "You should have died like your pathetic mother. Instead, you're going to watch as She never finished the sentence. Green fire exploded from her hands, aimed not at Arya, but at Lyanna, still collapsed on the ground, defenseless. She's going to kill her own daughter, Arya realized with horror. Her final revenge. Arya moved on pure instinct. She shifted mid-leap, her Luna wolf form erupting between Morgana's attack and Lyanna's vulnerable body. The witch fire hit her square in the chest, and was absorbed. Arya felt the dark magic enter her, felt it try to corrupt, to twist, to poison, and felt her Luna wolf nature simply convert it, transform it, purify it into silver light that fed her power instead of destroying it. "We are the moon's own," the Luna wolf purred. "Darkness cannot touch us. We are the light that darkness fears." Arya opened her jaws and released that converted energy back at Morgana, not as an attack, but as pure, cleansing moonlight. The witch screamed as 18 years of dark magic, of twisted spells, of carefully maintained illusions, burned away. Her false beauty melted, revealing the haggard crone beneath. Her power unraveled, leaving her just a bitter old woman who'd gambled everything and lost. "Morgana Darkwater," Constantine's voice boomed. "You stand revealed as false wolf, dark witch, and murderer. The council's judgment is exile and magical binding. You will be stripped of your power and cast beyond our borders, marked so that no pack will ever shelter you." "No," Morgana shrieked. "You can't. I have allies. You have nothing," Arya said quietly. She walked up to the witch, looked her in the eyes. "You took everything from me. My mother, my childhood, my sense of worth, but you failed, because what you tried to destroy was never yours to take." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper only Morgana could hear. "My mother's spirit is free. My power is mine, and you're nothing but a cautionary tale about what happens when you underestimate a wolf blessed by the goddess." Morgana collapsed, all fight leaving her. Within minutes, pack enforcers had her in silver chains, already beginning the binding ritual that would strip her magic permanently. Arya turned to find her father standing at the edge of the arena, staring at her like he'd never seen her before. "Arya," Gabriel's voice cracked. I didn't know. She had me under a mate bond spell. I couldn't see." "I know," Arya interrupted. She wanted to be angry, to rage at him for 18 years of neglect. But looking at him now, broken, ashamed, truly seeing her for the first time, she found she couldn't. "The mate bond clouded your judgment. But father, you chose to believe the worst about me. You chose to strip me of my name rather than fight for me. That wasn't magic. That was you." Gabriel flinched as if struck. "I'm sorry. Goddess Arya, I'm so sorry." "I know," she said again, softer. "And maybe, someday, I'll forgive you, but not today. Today, I need to figure out who I am without your approval or disapproval." She looked at Lyanna, who was being helped to her feet by pack healers. "Take care of your other daughter. She needs you more than I do right now." She turned away from him, from the pack that had rejected her, from the life she'd thought she wanted, and found 3 alphas waiting. Cade, Thorn, and Zephyr stood together, and the looks in their eyes were identical: respect, desire, and something deeper that made Arya's heart skip. "So," Thorn said with his characteristic grin, "what does a Luna wolf do after she defeats a dark witch and forces the Greater Pack Council to acknowledge her divinity?" Arya looked at each of them: dark Cade, wild Thorn, calculating Zephyr. 3 alphas who'd helped her become who she was meant to be. 3 potential mates, 3 possible futures. Honestly, Arya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. I have no idea. This wasn't exactly covered in the Luna Wolf handbook. There's a handbook? Zephyr asked, amused. No, that was a joke. I'm new at this. Arya sobered slightly. But I do know one thing. I'm not choosing a mate, because pack politics demand it. I'm not claiming a territory because tradition says I should. And I'm definitely not letting anyone alpha or otherwise tell me who or what I'm supposed to be. Good, Cade said simply. Because we wouldn't want you any other way. Although, Thorn added, if you're looking for allies, friends, or hypothetically competitive suitors who are willing to fight each other for your favor, we're available, Zephyr finished smoothly. Arya looked at the 3 of them and felt something warm bloom in her chest. Not love, not yet, but possibility, hope, the sense that maybe, just maybe, her story was just beginning. I'll keep that in mind, she said, smiling. Behind her, the Greater Pack Council was already discussing what her existence meant for pack politics, for territorial boundaries, for the future of all werewolves. Let them talk. Let them plan. Let them try to figure out how to deal with a Luna Wolf who refused to play by their rules. Arya Blackwood, no longer wolfless, no longer broken, no longer nothing, walked out of the arena with her head high. And the entire werewolf world watched as she transformed it simply by existing. Chapter 7. The Luna's Choice. The territory didn't have a name when Arya claimed it. It was wild land, unclaimed by any pack, a valley, nestled between 3 mountain ranges, with forests that whispered ancient secrets, and a lake that reflected the moon like liquid silver. The council had offered it to her after the trial, partly as acknowledgement of her status, partly to keep her away from established pack politics. Arya had accepted, and then she'd made it hers. Luna's Haven, the wolves called it now, a sanctuary for those who didn't fit elsewhere, the wolfless who'd been rejected by their packs, the late bloomers who'd been cast aside, the rogues who'd been hunted for crimes they didn't commit. They all found their way here, drawn by rumors of a Luna wolf who'd once been nothing and understood what it meant to be outcast. In 6 months, Luna's Haven had grown from a dream to a reality. 63 wolves called it home now, with more arriving every week. They'd built a compound, not a traditional pack house, but something more open, more communal. Everyone contributed. Everyone mattered. No one was worthless. And Arya led them, not as an alpha, but as something new. Something the werewolf world hadn't seen in centuries. A true Luna. You're brooding again, a familiar voice said from behind her. Arya turned from the overlook where she'd been watching the valley to find Grandmother Esther approaching. The old woman had moved to Luna's Haven 2 months ago, after finally cutting ties with Silver Creek. She looked younger somehow, despite her age, as if being free of pack politics had lifted years from her shoulders. Not brooding, Arya corrected. Contemplating. Ah, yes, very different. Esther's dry tone made Arya smile. Contemplating what, exactly? The 3 alphas who've been circling this territory like lovesick pups? The delegation from the council arriving tomorrow? Or the fact that you still haven't decided what to do about your father's request? All of the above, actually. But Arya focused on the last one. He wants to meet. Arya said quietly. Says he's broken Morgana's remaining hold on him. Says he wants to make amends. And you don't believe him? I don't know what I believe. Arya's fingers clenched on the railing. Part of me wants to forgive him, to have my father back. But another part remembers 18 years of being invisible. Of being nothing. How do you forgive that? You don't, Esther said bluntly. Not all at once. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, child. It's a process. A choice you make every day, until the weight gets lighter. She moved to stand beside Arya. But refusing to even meet with him? That's not protecting yourself. That's letting fear make your decisions. Before Arya could respond, a commotion from the compound drew their attention. Raised voices, excited, not angry, and the unmistakable sensation of powerful wolves entering the territory. They're here, the Luna wolf purred in Arya's mind. All 3 of them. This should be interesting. Arya sighed. Of course they'd all arrive at the same time. The three alphas who'd been courting her, if their aggressive, competitive version of courtship could be called, that had an uncanny ability to show up simultaneously, as if they coordinated just to make her life more complicated. She made her way down to the compound's main hall and found exactly the chaos she expected. Cade stood in the center, arms crossed, radiating dark intensity. Thorn leaned against a wall, grinning like this was all a grand joke. Zephyr perched on a table edge, looking amused and calculating as always. And around them, Luna's Haven wolves watched with barely concealed entertainment. This had become regular occurrence. The three alphas would visit, bring gifts or offers of alliance, compete for her attention, and generally turn her peaceful sanctuary into a circus of alpha posturing. "Gentlemen," Arya said dryly as she entered. "What a surprise. All three of you. At the same time. Again. It's almost like you're doing it on purpose." "We are absolutely doing it on purpose," Thorn said cheerfully. "Can't let the competition get alone time with you. I brought supplies for your healers," Cade said, gesturing to crates his wolves were unloading. "Rare herbs from Shadowfang territory. Your healer mentioned needing them last month." "I brought books," Zephyr added, indicating a different set of crates. "For your library, first editions of pack histories, including some that reference the original Luna wolves. Thought you might find them interesting." "And I," Thorn declared, "brought the most important thing of all." He whistled, and one of his wolves entered carrying chocolate, an entire crate of the finest chocolate from human territory. Because sometimes a Luna needs something sweet. Despite herself, Arya laughed. "You're all ridiculous." "Ridiculously devoted," Thorn corrected. "Ridiculously competitive," Cade muttered. "Ridiculously patient," Zephyr said smoothly, "considering you still haven't chosen any of us." And there it was. The question that had been hanging over Luna's Haven for 6 months. Every wolf in the territory knew about it. The three most powerful unmated alphas in the northern territories, all pursuing the same Luna wolf. It should have been romantic. Instead, it was complicated. "Can we talk?" Arya asked, looking at each of them. "Privately. All three of you." They followed her to her private quarters, a simple room overlooking the lake. She'd deliberately kept it modest, refusing the grand accommodations some of her wolves wanted to build. She was a Luna, yes, but she remembered too well what it felt like to sleep in servants' quarters. Once the door closed, the atmosphere shifted. The competitive playfulness faded, replaced by something more serious. "You're going to turn us all down," Cade said bluntly. "Aren't you?" Arya blinked, surprised by his directness. "What makes you think?" "Because I know that look," Cade interrupted. "I've seen it in my own mirror often enough. It's the look of someone who's been caged and is terrified of being caged again, even if the new cage is gilded." "I don't think of any of you as cages," Arya protested. "Don't you?" Zephyr's voice was gentle. "We're alphas. We have territories, responsibilities, political obligations. If you chose one of us, you'd be dragged into pack politics you've been carefully avoiding. You'd have to navigate alliances, territorial disputes, council meetings." He smiled sadly. "All the things you created Luna's Haven to escape." Thorn was uncharacteristically quiet, but when he spoke, his usual levity was gone. "We've been selfish, all of us, pursuing you like you're a prize to be won rather than a person trying to build a life." The truth in their words made Arya's chest tight. "It's not that I don't care about you. All of you. You saved me, trained me, helped me become who I am. But you need to figure out who you are without us," Cade finished, "without anyone telling you what you should be or who you should choose." Arya nodded, relieved they understood. "I spent 18 years being defined by what I wasn't. Wolfless, worthless, nothing. Then I became a Luna wolf, and suddenly everyone wanted to define me by that. Divine, powerful, a political asset." She looked at each of them. "I need time to define myself, to figure out what I want, not what others expect." "Then take it," Thorn said simply. "We'll wait." "That's not fair to you. Let us decide what's fair to us," Zephyr interrupted. "We're not fragile humans who'll wither without immediate gratification. We're alphas. we can be patient, especially for someone worth waiting for. Besides, Cade added with a slight smile, competing for your attention has kept us from killing each other over territorial disputes. You're basically maintaining peace in the Northern Territories just by being indecisive. Arya laughed despite the emotion clogging her throat. So what? We just continue as we have been? You three circling, competing, bringing increasingly elaborate gifts? Why not? Thorne's grin returned. It's entertaining, and it gives your pack something to gossip about. Everyone loves a good romance. This isn't romance, it's a circus. Can't it be both? Zephyr asked innocently. Before Arya could respond, a knock at the door interrupted. One of her scouts, a young wolf named Gabriel, ironically stuck his head in. Luna, sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation at the southern border. Arya's instincts immediately sharpened. What kind of situation? A wolf requesting sanctuary. She's injured, scared, and Gabriel hesitated. She says she's from Silver Creek Pack. She says she's your sister. The room went silent. Lyanna. Arya breathed. The healer's den. H1. 1 hour later. Lyanna looked nothing like the proud, arrogant wolf, Arya remembered. She was too thin with dark circles under her eyes and poorly healed wounds across her arms and shoulders. Her golden hair was tangled and dirty, and when she looked up at Arya entering the healer's den, her expression was pure, broken desperation. You came, Lyanna whispered. I wasn't sure you would. Arya settled into a chair across from the bed where Lyanna lay. The healer had already worked on the worst wounds, but clearly there was more damage than just physical. What happened? Arya asked, keeping her voice neutral. She'd seen Lyanna twice since the trial, once when she'd returned to Silver Creek to formally reject her father's authority, once at a regional gathering. Both times, Lyanna had avoided her. Father happened, Lyanna said bitterly. After you left, after Morgana was exiled, he broke. The mate bond breaking nearly destroyed his mind. He became paranoid, controlling. He saw threats everywhere. She laughed, a broken sound. Especially in me. Why you? Because I look like Morgana. Because I was raised by her, trained by her, favored by her. He started to wonder if I was corrupted too. If I was a dark witch in disguise. Tears tracked down Lyanna's face. I'm not. I swear, Arya, I'm not. But he wouldn't believe me. He had me tested, examined, questioned by council investigators, and when they found nothing, he still didn't trust me. Arya felt an unwelcome stab of sympathy. So you ran. I was going to be stripped of my heir status, reduced to Omega, made to serve as penance for my mother's crimes. Lyanna met Arya's eyes. Sound familiar? It did. Horribly familiar. Why come here? Arya asked. Why not go to another pack, anywhere but to me? Because you're the only one who understands, Lyanna said simply. You know what it's like to be rejected by father, to be called worthless despite your power, to have everything taken away because of circumstances beyond your control. She reached out tentatively. Please, Arya, I know I was terrible to you. I know I hurt you, belittled you, made your life hell. But I was raised to see you as competition, as a threat. Morgana poisoned my mind the same way she poisoned your body. That doesn't excuse. I know. Lyanna's voice cracked. I know it doesn't excuse anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for sanctuary, for a chance to prove I'm more than the monster my mother tried to create. Her hands trembled. If you turn me away, I have nowhere else to go. No other pack will take an alpha's rejected heir. I'll die out there. Arya looked at her sister, her half-sister, and saw a reflection of her own past, broken, desperate, begging for a chance she didn't deserve but needed anyway. What do you think? Arya asked her Luna wolf. She speaks truth, the wolf replied. I can sense no deception, no dark magic, just pain, regret, and fear. A pause. But the choice is yours, little sister. Mercy or justice, forgiveness or vengeance. What kind of Luna do you want to be? Arya thought about 18 years of cruelty, of every cutting word, every training accident, every moment Lyanna had made her feel small. Then she thought about what she'd built here. a sanctuary for the rejected, a haven for those who didn't fit, and she made her choice. You can stay, Arya said quietly, but there are conditions. Hope flared in Lyanna's eyes. Anything. You come in as an equal. Not an heir, not special, not privileged. You work like everyone else. You train. You contribute. And if anyone tells me you've been cruel or dismissive or acted like you're better than them, you're gone. I understand. And Arya leaned forward, her voice hardening. You will apologize. To every person in this sanctuary you ever mocked or hurt when you visited Silver Creek. You will own what you did and make amends. Not because I'm forcing you, but because that's what real strength looks like. Lyanna's face crumpled, but she nodded. I will. I promise. Arya stood. The healer will take care of your wounds. When you're recovered, we'll find you a place in the pack. Welcome to Luna's Haven, Lyanna. Try not to screw it up. She left before her sister could see the tears in her own eyes. Outside, Cade was waiting. He didn't say anything, just pulled her into his arms and let her shake with the weight of what she'd just done. That was hard, he murmured into her hair. That was necessary, Arya corrected. If I can't offer mercy to my own sister, how can I ask others to believe in second chances? You're a better person than me, Cade said. I would have turned her away. No, you wouldn't have. Arya pulled back to look at him. You take in rogues. You protect defectors. You understand that sometimes the people who hurt us are hurting too. Doesn't mean we have to forgive them. No, Arya agreed. But we can give them the chance to be better, and hope they take it. 2 days later. The council delegation. The council had sent Alpha Constantine himself, along with Sable and 2 others. They arrived with full ceremony, bringing gifts and formal greetings. But Arya could sense the tension beneath the politeness. They met in Luna's Haven's council hall, not a throne room. Just a large open space where pack decisions were made communally. Luna Arya, Constantine began, using her new title. The Greater Pack Council has been watching your territory's growth with interest. In 6 months, you've established a stable community, resolved disputes with neighboring packs, and provided sanctuary to dozens of displaced wolves. It's impressive. Thank you, Arya said carefully. But I sense there's a but coming. Constantine's lips twitched. Direct. I appreciate that. Yes, there is a concern. Luna's Haven operates outside traditional pack structures. You have no alpha, no formal hierarchy, no clear succession plan. Some council members worry about what happens if you're incapacitated or if the territory grows beyond your ability to manage alone. You want me to choose an alpha, Arya translated. Preferably one of the 3 who've been courting me, to establish a traditional power structure. It would stabilize your position, Alpha Sable added. A Luna and Alpha pair is traditional, understood. What you're doing here is innovative, but innovation makes the old guard nervous. Arya looked at the council members, then at her assembled pack. 63 wolves, all watching, all waiting to see how she'd respond to this pressure. They want to control us, the Luna wolf growled. Want to fit us into their comfortable boxes. Maybe, Arya thought back, or maybe they're genuinely worried about stability. Either way, we need to set boundaries. I appreciate the council's concern, Arya said carefully. But Luna's Haven will not be adopting a traditional pack structure. We function differently here, and that's deliberate. However, she held up a hand as Constantine started to object. I understand the need for clear leadership and succession. So I propose this. I will establish a council of elders within Luna's Haven, 5 wolves, elected by the pack, who will help make decisions, and who could lead if I'm unable to. We'll formalize our laws, our territory boundaries, and our relationship with the Greater Council. And the matter of choosing a mate, Constantine pressed, is my business, Arya said firmly. When and if I choose to take a mate, it will be because I want to, not because pack politics demand it. Luna's Haven will not become a prize to be won through marriage. The council may not accept. Then the council can try to remove me. Arya interrupted, power crackling in her voice. The temperature in the room dropped. I beat a dark witch, defeated an alpha champion, and earned my place through trial by combat. If the council thinks they can force me into anything, they're welcome to try." The silence was absolute. Then Constantine laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. "You have teeth, Luna. Good. The council needs to remember that power comes in many forms." He stood, offered a formal bow. "Your proposal is acceptable. Luna's Haven remains autonomous, but with formal structures that satisfy council requirements. We'll put it to vote." "Thank you," Arya said, relieved. As the council members departed, Arya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She'd stood her ground, refused to be controlled, maintained her vision for what Luna's Haven could be. "That's our Luna," the wolf purred approvingly. That night, the full moon rose over Luna's Haven, and tradition demanded a run. Not a formal ceremony, just wolves being wolves, racing through forests, hunting, celebrating their nature. Arya shifted and led the pack into the wilderness, her silver form lighting the way. Behind her, 63 wolves followed, some strong, some weak, all belonging. They ran until the joy of it filled their bones, hunted together, howled at the moon that blessed them all. And when they returned to the compound in the early morning hours, Arya found someone waiting. Alpha Gabriel stood at the territory border, alone, looking older and more broken than she'd ever seen him. Arya shifted back to human, as did several of her wolves, who moved to flank her protectively. "Father," she said neutrally. "Arya." His voice was rough. "I know I have no right to be here. I know I lost the privilege of calling you daughter when His voice broke. "When I chose wrong, again and again, but I needed to see you. To tell you." He took a shuddering breath. "Your mother would be so proud of what you've built here, of who you've become." The words hit harder than any insult. Arya's throat tightened. "You didn't know her," she said, but without venom. "Not really. Morgana took her from you before you could truly understand what you had." "I knew her enough to love her," Gabriel said quietly. "And to see her in you. Every time I look at you, I see Seraphina, her strength, her compassion, her refusal to accept the world as it is when it could be better." He moved closer to the border, careful not to cross without permission. "I failed you. I failed her. I let a witch manipulate me into betraying everything I should have protected. And I know," his voice cracked again, "I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything. But I am sorry. Every day, I am sorry." Arya studied him, this man who'd once been her hero, then her tormentor, now just broken. Grandmother Esther's words echoed in her mind. "Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a choice you make every day." "You're right," Arya said finally. "Sorry doesn't fix anything, but it's a start." She gestured to the border. "Cross, come see what I've built. Meet the wolves who chose to follow a Luna instead of an alpha. And maybe, if you listen more than you talk, we can start to figure out what kind of relationship we can have going forward." Gabriel's eyes widened with hope and disbelief. "You'd let me." "I'm offering you a chance," Arya interrupted. "Not forgiveness, not absolution. A chance. What you do with it is up to you." He crossed the border with reverent care, and Arya saw tears streaming down his face. "This is harder than fighting," Arya told her wolf. "Why is this so much harder?" "Because fighting is simple," the wolf replied. "Mercy is complicated. But that's what makes it powerful." 1 month later, Luna's Haven. The territory had grown again. 80 wolves now, with more arriving every week. The Council of Elders had been established. Grandmother Esther, a former rogue named Thomas, a young wolf with prophetic dreams, and 2 others elected by the pack. They met weekly to discuss issues, make decisions, and ensure Luna's Haven remained true to its principles. Lyanna had kept her word. She'd apologized genuinely, painfully, to every wolf she'd wronged. She worked in the kitchens now, the lowest rank, earning her place through service. Some pack members had accepted her, others watched her with suspicion, but she was trying, and that counted for something. Gabriel visited twice a week. He didn't try to reclaim authority or give unsolicited advice. He just listened, worked alongside other wolves. tried to understand what his daughter had become. It was awkward, sometimes painful, but progress. And the three alphas continued their elaborate courtship, now with the added complication of trying to prove themselves worthy through actions rather than just words. Cade had helped defend Luna's haven from a rogue attack. Thorn had negotiated a trade agreement that benefited her wolves. Zephyr had provided intel that prevented a territorial conflict. They were still competing, but now they were competing to be better alphas, better allies, better potential partners. So, Grandmother Esther said one evening, finding Arya at her usual overlook, any closer to making a choice. About what? Arya asked, though she knew perfectly well. Don't play coy, child. About your three lovesick alphas. About your father. About what comes next. Arya smiled. Maybe I don't have to choose. Maybe the Luna Wolf's power is that she can forge her own path, create her own rules. That's an evasion, not an answer. Okay, fine. Arya sobered. I'm not ready to choose a mate. Maybe I never will be. But I am ready to forgive father, or at least try to. And I'm ready to make Luna's haven into something that lasts. Something that changes how packs think about power and belonging. Ambitious, Esther noted. Necessary, Arya corrected. The old ways, the ones that let wolves like me be discarded, that made us feel worthless, they need to change. And if a Luna wolf can't change them, who can? Esther smiled. Your mother really would be proud. I hope so, Arya said quietly. She looked up at the moon, full and bright and beautiful. I hope wherever she is, she knows I became exactly what she wanted me to be. Not an alpha, not a prize. Just myself. Powerful, flawed, and free. Movement below caught her attention. Cade, Thorn, and Zephyr had arrived again, simultaneously, probably on purpose, bringing what looked like building supplies. What are they doing now? Esther asked, amused. No idea, Arya laughed. But knowing them, something ridiculous and competitive. She made her way down to investigate, and found the three alphas arguing good-naturedly about the best way to construct what appeared to be a training ground. An expanded one. Much larger than what Luna's haven currently had. You're building something, Arya observed. Without asking. It's a gift, Cade said. For the pack, Thorn added. Not for you specifically, Zephyr finished. Though if you wanted to thank us individually, we wouldn't say no. Arya shook her head, but she couldn't stop smiling. You three are impossible. Impossibly devoted. Thorn corrected with a wink. Impossibly patient, Cade added. Impossibly in love with a Luna who won't choose any of us, Zephyr said with theatrical despair. Yet, Arya corrected. Won't choose yet. Maybe someday. When I figure out what I want. One of you will be the answer. She looked at each of them. Or maybe I'll surprise everyone and forge a completely different path. Who knows? We can wait, Cade said simply. Take all the time you need. Besides, Thorn grinned. The competition is half the fun. And watching you become the Luna you were meant to be? Zephyr's expression was sincere. That's worth any wait. Arya felt her chest warm. These three alphas, so different, all so completely supportive of her journey, had become friends. Allies. And maybe, eventually, something more. But for now, this was enough. The moon rose higher, bathing Luna's haven in silver light. Arya's wolves emerged from their homes, drawn by the moon's call, ready for the nightly run. Arya shifted, her Luna wolf form blazing with divine power, and howled, not a challenge, not a claim. Just pure, joyous celebration of what she'd become, what they'd all become. And as her pack howled in response, as three alphas bowed their heads in respect, as the moon blessed the territory she'd built from nothing, Arya understood the truth. She'd spent 18 years being told she was worthless, 6 months proving she was powerful. But now she was just learning to be free. And freedom, she was discovering, was the greatest power of all. 1 year later, the Greater Pack Council had called an unprecedented gathering. Every alpha in the Northern Territories, every Luna, every pack representative. They assembled in the gathering grounds, hundreds of wolves waiting to hear what the council had to say. Arya arrived with her entire pack, now 147 strong. Lyanna walked beside her, no longer an outcast but Luna's Haven's beta earned through a year of hard work and genuine change. Gabriel walked on her other side, no longer alpha of Silver Creek but an elder in Arya's pack, having formally abdicated to focus on making amends. And behind them, 3 alphas who'd finally stopped competing and started cooperating, forming a protective triangle that had become known throughout the territories as the Luna's Guard. "Think they're finally going to officially recognize us?" Lyanna asked nervously. "They'd better," Arya replied. "After everything we've done to prove ourselves." Alpha Constantine stood before the assembled crowd, his voice carrying across the grounds. 1 year ago, a Luna wolf emerged for the first time in 3 centuries. Many feared what her existence would mean. Would she dominate? Destroy? Disrupt everything we'd built? Arya's hands clenched. This could go either way. Instead, Constantine continued, she did something far more radical. She built a sanctuary that challenged our assumptions about pack structure, about worth, about who deserves belonging. Luna's Haven has taken in the rejected and made them powerful, has proven that new ways can work alongside old traditions. And most importantly, he looked directly at Arya, has reminded us all that the moon goddess's blessings come in many forms. The crowd murmured, uncertain where this was going. Therefore, Constantine's voice rang out clear and strong. The Greater Pack Council formally recognizes Luna's Haven as a sovereign territory. Arya, Luna Wolf, is acknowledged as its leader not as Alpha, but as Luna, the first territory in recorded history to be led solely by a Luna's authority. The crowd erupted, some in celebration, some in shock, all in noise. Furthermore, Constantine raised his voice to be heard. The council proposes a new tradition. Every year, on this date, we will gather to celebrate not just strength and dominance, but mercy and innovation. The Luna's Gathering, a time to remember that power comes in many forms, and all are blessed by the goddess. Arya felt tears prick her eyes. This was more than recognition. This was validation, not just of her, but of every wolf who'd ever been told they weren't enough. The ceremony continued with formal speeches and presentations, but Arya's attention was caught by movement in the crowd, a flash of silver hair she'd recognize anywhere. A woman stood at the edge of the gathering, translucent and glowing faintly with moonlight. She looked exactly like the portraits Arya had seen of her mother, beautiful, strong, with eyes like storm clouds and a smile that promised everything would be all right. Mother, Arya thought, her heart stopping. The apparition smiled, mouthed something that looked like, "I'm proud of you," and dissolved into silver light that was absorbed by the moon. "Did you see?" Arya started to ask Grandmother Esther. "I saw," Esther said softly, tears streaming down her face. The goddess sent her to witness this, to see what her daughter became. Arya looked up at the moon, feeling a connection deeper than words. Her mother had given her life. The moon goddess had given her power, but she had given herself purpose. And that was enough. That was everything. 2 years later. Tell us the story again, Luna. The pups, 12 of them now, born to Luna's Haven wolves, gathered around Arya in the evening twilight. This had become tradition, story time under the stars, where Arya would tell them about courage and change, and becoming more than the world expected. All right. Arya settled onto the grass, and the pups immediately swarmed her with the fearlessness of children who'd never been told they were worthless. Once upon a time, there was a girl who everyone said had no wolf. They called her broken. They called her nothing. But what they didn't know was that she carried something far more powerful than any ordinary wolf. As she told the story, Arya felt 3 presences settle around her. Cade, Thorn, and Zephyr, still competing for her favor but now more friends than rivals, listening to a tale they'd become part of. She still hadn't chosen. Maybe she never would. Maybe being a Luna wolf meant forging your own path, writing your own rules. Or maybe, eventually, she'd surprise everyone, including herself, and choose all 3. Or none. Or something completely different. The beauty was, she didn't have to decide tonight. or tomorrow, or ever. If she didn't want to. She was free. She was powerful. She was loved. And she was exactly who she was meant to be. And what happened to the girl? A pup asked when she finished the story. Arya smiled, looking at her pack, her family, her home. She stopped trying to be what others expected. And she became everything she was meant to be. Did she live happily ever after? She lived bravely ever after, Arya corrected. Which is better? Because happiness is a moment, but bravery? Bravery lasts forever. The moon rose full and bright above Luna's haven, blessing them all with silver light. And Arya Blackwood, once wolfless, once nothing. Now Luna howled her gratitude to the goddess who'd never forgotten her. All alphas bowed, but the Luna stood free. If Arya's journey from bullied and broken to powerful and free moved you, don't forget to subscribe. Because stories of transformation and triumph deserve to be shared with others who need to hear that being different isn't being defective, it's being divine. Thank you for being here for every moment of Arya's evolution. You're part of her pack now.